Josh, go.
Thank you.
What an intro. Thank you. Bren has been morphed into a tiny human with a tiny little voice, a miniature larynx. How are you all doing? How are you doing? I played too much rank last night and the soul has left my body.
Who's this directed to?
Just honestly, mostly Avast and Balla, because I know how you're doing and I don't seek to know any further.
Discord's down. Spotify's down.
My grandma's here, so we're good, apparently.
Okay. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, that's good. Are you trying to? I don't know exactly. Are you implying that it's good that you're recording while your grandmother's here?
No, I'm just saying. Bren's my grandma now.
Oh, I see. Bren is your grandmother. Okay.
My
But
grandma's
also,
not actually here. That'd be
what
cool.
is this water cooler talk?
What?
You've
How
never
are you
done this
doing?
before in an episode. Why are you
Well,
starting?
we wanna
He
go
wants to make
closer.
it feel like it's a workplace.
It's
We always
corporate
say.
bonding.
Yeah,
It
what
is.
is this? You're asking me how the weekend was? How's
Don't-
your wife?
Don't subvert the corporate hegemony. Okay. Don't do it. I will crush you under my heel. I will crush you with red tape and bureaucracy. You fool.
Those are big words. I don't know what they mean.
No, honestly, I was struggling to find an opening because genuinely I have been flattened. I played some ranked games last night with Bren, and it was the least fun I've ever had playing Valorant. I thought, okay, I've got to try out the new meta, right? I've got to try it out. I've got to see what it's like. And we spent the first 4 games with just like Jett Rainer players speed boosted running over people on the other side of the map. And that was like the first 10 seconds of the round, we've just lost a bomb site and I'm on the other side and I'm like, oh, well, guess I'm playing retake again, 3v5 for the fucking 5th time. Oh, let me rotate to the other side. Oh, they hit the other one. Oh, fucking flip a coin.
Yeah. Actual 50-50 gameplay.
We played
you don't have
we played
syntax.
one map that was kind of nice. Pace slowed down a little bit. But as soon as you just got the baboon brimstone buff, this game's
You
killed
want
me.
to talk about a new meta, new patch?
Yeah, go on then. Go on then. Have you two played any of it? Have you had a chance to experience this? Maybe it was just
I played a bit of it actually, and it was similar to what you've experienced. It was very similar. I mean, to be fair, like I don't really care as much about the pacing of it as you. I know, Josh, you're a thinking man's player. You know, you like it to be stratego over here, where it takes years and years for everything to play out. I'm fine. Like, I'm fine if the pace is really heavy, but I have to say, it is not fun in ranked when you're retaking literally every time on defense. It's just like insanely not fun.
Well, then don't retake. Hold the site.
True.
You have
True.
mollies.
Just hold the site. Oh
You
my
say
god!
that.
Why did
You
I
say
tell?
that
Why did
you
I just
have
tell people hold the
mollies.
site?
But
Yeah.
my God, I was having instances where I would be... the trouble is...
Bren was playing Sage, by the way. This was defense side split.
Defense
and
side,
Bren was playing
Sage. Defense side split
and
Sage.
Bren was getting run
and they
over.
were running over my fucking slows with the brimstim. They were running over my slows. I was getting hard swung by a Rainer with an op, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I mean, the obvious answer is get good, but also
hold the
just
site.
My biggest issue with this patch so far is that
You lost 5 games in a row and deranked out of time.
that's definitely one of them. We lost a lot last night. We lost a lot. But the biggest issue is ranked normally wasn't some slow strategic game.
No.
Even at the higher ranks, it was very much like sometimes it would just evolve into just rushing a site, alternating, whatever. There wasn't really much nuance in the play. And this patch feels like it has enabled that play. It's taken the tactical out of the tactical FPS in my mind.
Anders called it an anti-intellectual patch when it first dropped.
Yeah. This might... I mean, it must be coming... Oh, dude. What is this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This actually... Oh, my God. This killed me. You can't see the minimap, but there was a KO knife in B main at tree, and I'm like... I see the KO knife in B main. I'm like, well, is he B main? I'm asking, is he B main? Is he B main?
Well, of course, I don't know.
Dude just runs at me over the rope. Just runs at me over the rope.
Yeah, by the way, you can't hear the comms there, but one of our dead teammates did say, watch out for the rope. And
Yeah,
Bren just kept
watch out for the
looking
rope. And I'm
at B
thinking,
main.
why would I watch out for the rope? The knife was B main.
Just incredible scenes from everybody involved. I still won that
At
game.
least you won.
Yeah.
At least
I
you
still won that game. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Dude, but no, I have not been having a good time with this patch. I mean, it might sound very
Reactionary after 5 games.
reactionary after 5 games, and it probably is. But my initial impressions are it's made the worst aspects of ranked a more winning strategy in my mind. So,
Balla, what was your thoughts when playing recently? You got a more tempered approach.
I was having fun, guys.
Oh my God.
I was throwing my fucking brim stims and I'm just like booking it.
God.
I was having fun. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fortnite player, by the way. I mean, to be fair, the thing is, I actually enjoyed it too because, like, I'm ready to be a baboon with the rest of them. You know, it's just like at the same time, I'm like, well, this does not seem tactical. Like,
Yeah.
that's really what I'm thinking.
Here's the thing that I think I don't know. Maybe I don't know what's happening with you guys, but in my games. My defaults never work anyways. The tactical approach never works anyways.
Yeah, it was never there anyway. It really
all
wasn't.
I want to do is just like, hey guys, I know when you try to default, you guys are spread it on the map and you just run up one area of the map anyways, not holding any space. So let's try to rush something.
So
And
do
then
you
last
view it as
match-
like a fast forward button on your regular games? Then you're just fast forwarding the ranked game.
Pretty much. I'm fast forwarding past all the tactical like arguments that me and my teammates have, and I'm just like, let's fucking rush something, and it's fine because nobody's like, there's no Astra to grapple you, and like you're chilling in that regard. You don't actually have to bait out utility right now. Well, you do. You do a lot because the brim smokes last for fucking ever. That is like the worst part about it. Is the brim smokes lasting forever and your teammate not knowing what to do when there's a smoke in front of you. But other than that, no, I've been having fun.
Well, I'm intrigued. I am absolutely intrigued what happens when it gets to the pro level, because I highly doubt the pros are going to go with the ranked strat of put down the zoom button on the floor and run in with the rain. I'm like, no, don't look at me like that.
I don't know.
Look at me
I
like
don't
that.
know. I could see some
No,
teams maybe
Come on,
leaning into it a bit. You know,
It's please no, please no.
I
literally
think
about
it
to
can
watch
happen.
Week 5, North America,
Yeah.
and there's nothing NA loves more than just reverting to our tribal selves of just running in, man, just running in. I
The
swear to
top
God.
teams have never at any point done that though. It was always like some
Phase.
like
Phase.
I don't.
Also, for a brief
Yeah, I
stint,
guess.
like at the
Yeah,
tier
I
1
mean-
level Renegades, for a brief stint.
But Renegades weren't a top team. That's what I mean. I mean like teams that have a chance to win or something or get to playoffs.
I'm
or stuff
circle
like
jerking
that,
a little
but-
bit too much, but yeah, it's like,
All right.
I feel like NA is going to embrace this patch.
I think some of the teams are for sure. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. Who are the winners and losers of this patch in terms of the pro play? There are certain teams that I think theoretically, obviously we don't know how it's actually going to play out, but theoretically might get a bit stronger. Some of the teams that enjoy playing with a bit more pace, playing double duelist, maybe that becomes much more viable with the Brim and the Omen. Who do you think are some of the winners and the losers of this Astra nerf patch?
I think everybody's first thought is what happens to Sentinels now
Yep.
that they don't. I think that's everybody's first thought, and to a certain extent, I agree. I think that enables a little bit of their play style, where they're trying to figure out what the round is happening, and then they just hit without really any sort of like they're baiting out a lot of utility, all that stuff. I think that really does lend to Sentinels play style, and I don't think that they're going to lose anything at all. Because I think they were godlike before Astra, and then they became godlike with Astra. I think the one thing that I think people are forgetting is Sentinels is actually pretty bad at adapting to new metas. But in this instance, I think it'll be good because nobody will have any structure anymore because everything is new, right?
Yeah.
So B1, the guard, everybody who actually does have a little bit of structure has to work on new timings, new executes because they're missing the Astra utility, right? I think that's the important key that Sentinels will actually work really, really well in.
I think just before we move on, though, people are going to be lit up by that comment that you made, Balla, about them being bad to adapt to new metas because they've been good for a long time. But what specifically are you thinking of there? Like them being slow to integrate Viper into Bind, or them being like
slow to integrate Viper into Bind, into Icebox, into slow to integrate Astra, slow to integrate KO. Like
Right.
the only thing they've been fast at integrating is fucking Yoru, and they stopped doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that bears.
I think
bears
you're onto
mentioning.
something, though, Balla, as well, by talking about how the way I look at it as well, the biggest difference from champs, like the NA teams, the thing that was missing from a lot of them was that thought being put in ahead of time about trap plays, setup plays. And now that Astra's being nerfed, that's one of the key components to even enabling a lot of the beginning of the round defaults where you pull, you fucking dash, you Sova dart, whatever. You use a combination of utility to potentially get an early advantage, an early pick. And the NA teams weren't doing that as much. And especially Sentinels, where it looks like they are still leaning on the things that made them the dominant team back in Masters 1 2021 a year ago. Well, I mean, a year ago at this point, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
And yeah, I can't remember when Reykjavik was last year, like what month it was, but roughly a year.
I think it was May.
And at that point, like that play style of Sentinels that they love to lean into, which is they play off their team play, their chemistry so well. They individually, a bunch of the players are cracked. And yeah, it's very much in the moment. I feel like a lot of their gameplay is what it comes down to. This patch, I think, should enable that as well, just because reactionary, probably a lot of teams. There might be some teams that don't want to let go of the prep that they put in, like the Astra defaults or whatever, and they might still try and make the same comps work. But Astra's been so heavily nerfed that I think it's inevitable that a team like Sentinels is probably just going to embrace the changes, embrace the Brim changes, and might just have a bit of a resurgence now coming into like week 5 and onwards.
There are still teams saying they think the Astra is still pretty good, though, by the way. I have seen some opinion that Astra is still pretty decent on maps. Like, it's not like she's out of the meta entirely by any means. So
You got a sponsorship from Churchill, the nodding dog? What's going on over there, Balla?
I just fucking facts.
Just
facts.
hard
I
agree.
think Astra's not that bad. I was playing a lot. Well, I played like 3 games, not a lot, because obviously Astra is not good anymore, especially in ranked. But she's not that bad. Like if you are proactive about what you're doing with your stars, it's going to be good against certain teams. And really good Astra players, I think, are honestly not going to have that much problem adapting to the changes. That's my take.
Yeah.
The one thing I would like to see is give her 5 stars back, I think, personally. That's it. I mean, I think the nerfs were absolutely necessary, like I was saying before, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this too much because we're talking about the winners and losers, the teams, rather than the patch itself. So
I do. This is going to lead into a point about the teams, but I think the Brim buff is overrated. I think the Brim stim is overrated. I don't think that people are going to really be basing their strats around it unless they were already going to be playing Brim in the first place. Other than that, I think the insta smoke landing thing doesn't change that much. I mean, what timing revolves around 1 second difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Brimstone buff is more so the fact that you have a place for him now, perhaps, with some of those more aggro comps that you were going to be running anyway. But yeah, the paranoia I see just having so much more varied impact on pro level. In ranked, I mean, I keep thinking about your Lion King analogy, Avast, of just being Simba staring down the horde of stampeding.
Yeah.
What were they? They're not buffalo,
the
are they?
wildebeest.
Wildebeest,
yeah.
But that's what it feels like in ranked. But in pro play, a little bit of utility usage and some smart positioning will negate a lot of that, I think. I'm interested to hear about like individual smoke players. Is there any smoke player in North America that you think hurts or gets hurt from an Astra nerf or benefits from like Omen, Brim coming back? Because I can't really think of one. I'm thinking of like Zom's great with Astra, but also has been able to perform on like when he was playing Omen previously.
Well,
loves
it's a bit weird.
kind of anchoring those positions with his
I
paranoia.
can think of one. Nitro gets buffed, right? Oh.
Wait, what? Sorry?
You say Nitro gets buffed?
Oh,
Nitro.
fucking hell. Yeah.
I think it's weird to think of it as an individual player thing, though, because Astra was so...
It's a bone cold buff.
It is definitely
It's a bone cold buff.
I think it's a Marv
is he going to
buff.
switch back to it? Yeah, it's a Marv buff.
I think it's a Marv buff, too.
But
I think
the way
that's
you phrased it was
nasty.
Astra, which player is going to be nerfed by the Astra nerf?
Yeah, or
right?
change. I mean,
But
some
it's
people could...
Astra's
I
not
could,
letting-
I could see like a Vanity maybe having having to adjust a tad potentially.
Yeah, maybe actually. Maybe.
But it's I don't know, man. Like Astra's such a team-based agent at the pro level where your impact is like dependent on the shit that you've planned out ahead of time or how your team's playing off your util. It's not so much like an individual focused agent. You know what I mean?
But there's a lot of the Astra players, or some of the Astra players anyway, either weren't as comfortable with that kind of play style or like to lean into the individual stuff.
Like Marved as well.
Or like if you think back to Superman when he used to play with Brim, although Superman actually did develop a really nice Astra as well. I mean, Scuba and Sabrosa up at the top of the ACS there, they enjoy being gun out. They enjoy fragging. So I'm thinking, if you end up playing Brim or Omen and you're a bit more
TSM
aggro on the map, then...
Is this the TSM patch? wait, what?
I think Sabrosa tweeted saying Astra's still good on 3 maps, so still going to be...
Yeah. I don't know. I think
TSM.
there's still going to be, like, for players, like, the reason I mentioned specifically Vanity is just because I feel like a lot of the impact he was able to bring is like, yeah, there's a lot of set plays that are happening here, but a lot of the value with Astro is with one less star, and also way less flexibility in how to use them, because it's much more like you put them down, they're there. Like if you remove them, you're not going to have them back if you pick them back up.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is some lessened impact with like when you have a player like Vanity that really knows like, okay, I know how to play my stars here. And like, maybe I planted, I'm playing post plant, or maybe we're going for a retake. I need to swap my stars like really quick. Like there is moments where that impact is going to be significantly lessened.
It's a Zumba nerf as well. I've been watching Korean Valorant.
Wow.
That is, I mean, he likes to use all 5 of his stars and pull back 7 of them and
pull back 7.
He can't be doing that anymore.
He pulls the coach into the server.
All right. So there were some EMEA games. EMEA is starting to kick back up again. They had 3 games, I think, instead of the previously scheduled. I don't even know how many there normally are. What, 9 games or something? 6? Sure.
So 2 a day.
Sure.
3 days.
That makes sense to me.
A weekend.
So the first game that I wanted to look over is Ascend over G2. And I've made the title here, Ascend benefits from G2 cheating again, because Ascend had a massive advantage in the map veto here because G2 got punished. And I just want to start there, man. Does anyone even know what it was for? They put out a tweet saying G2 have been reprimanded because the thingy.
The Jett thing, no?
Yeah, but I heard a rumor it was the Jett, like... using the Jett exploit, which is fucking nonsense, to get on top of the Haven C box.
Maybe we can...
But it can't be that.
Dude, maybe we can find it. If you go to G2's last game, did they play Haven?
Oh, yes. Kurt,
before
investigation.
Investigation. G2, previous game. SMB. Haven. Oh. Somewhere in the VOD, Kellogg's jumped on top of that box. Somewhere in there. We can find it.
Okay. Let's do a VOD review now on Plat Chat.
VOD review.
Let's do a VOD review.
Okay.
This is split.
Skip ahead.
This is going to be a problem.
Next map.
Let's move ahead here. Okay, so now this actually just turned into the G2 podcast.
It's going to be G2 defense side. It's going to be at the beginning of a round, most likely.
Yeah, the Jett's on A this time. It can't be this round.
How much time can we dedicate to this? Maybe about 20, 30 minutes?
Dude, I think...
around there?
Well, no, it wouldn't be... We're too far in.
Oh, yeah, this is the second
We only have to look at the first half of Haven.
They took
timeout.
They were getting told off by the admins.
Coach and... Hello? Help Suez?
Do you think the coach told them to get on top of the box?
Dude, get on top of the box. They're not going to expect this one.
They won't expect this one. Not after what's happened in the past.
Dude, actually... Oh, wait a second.
Wait.
Wait. Dude, I think that was it. Dude, I think that was it. Yeah, it was. That was it. He's on the box. We found it. Admin.
Does he have one traps? Take away the lower third.
We found it.
Okay.
That's funny.
He has 2 up traps.
He's there.
I find this to be a ridiculous thing that Riot are ruling against. I mean, both in terms of it's dumb that it's an exploit, and it's dumb that they have different punishments for it every time. Some teams from what was it? Singaporean teams.
Yeah, was it APAC?
Yeah, it was some teams in Southeast Asia, I think. I can't remember exactly where the teams were from, but they got full disqualified.
Yeah, full DC.
Like from the whole tournament for doing that, which is just patently absurd.
We've criticized Riot in the past for just the inconsistency with the rulings.
Yes.
Across the board, and it's the same things happening. I mean, I don't know, man. Especially because there was that. Was it during champs where it was that like a 40-minute break where we were paused trying to work out if it was an exploit? I mean, I think they changed the rules retroactively after that.
Can you imagine looking at that though and thinking, "Yep, you know what? That is an exploit, and it's just a loophole in our rule book." Come on,
I think-
man. It's a skill jump with every other agent. It's just Jett has a passive ability to make it a bit easier. How is that an exploit?
I
Someone
totally agree.
tell me.
Is it a skill jump?
Yes, you can do it
Yeah,
with
it is.
every
Yeah.
other agent. It's just
I'm just bad.
consistent with Jett because of her passive ability. It's literally a passive ability. She has it in the game. It's a benefit that she can move through the air. And Riot's like, but if you use it in this way,
I think it's like
exploit.
crouch spamming, though, no?
Yeah?
It's a crouch jump where you let go of crouch at the perfect time, right as you hit the lip, just like jumping on the split box in mid. It's the exact same thing. But with regular people, you have to air strafe from the box, the default box, and turn. So it's actually a really hard jump to do. With Jett, you can just jump from logs and you can glide, and then you could just do the crouch, uncrouch thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, it's something that's in the game. Like we're dealing with like this is like a constitutional crisis here. We have like the originalists being like, okay, like it's in the game, and then we have Riot being like, no, it wasn't meant like that. Okay, that's not what well-regulated militia means. Okay, so like I don't know. This is just I feel like this is a very strange situation for the game to even be in. And at the same time, like if it's here, like it definitely should not be an exploit. But whatever.
Yeah, and I put this comment on Twitter, and someone replied to me. I think it was the producer of Valoranting, actually, replied to me and said, well, if it is a rule, though, the teams should follow it, right? Like, it's G2's responsibility there.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think this is the kind of rule that players are more likely to forget about because it's something that they don't think in their head is an exploit. But all right, yeah, that is Kellogg's responsibility. But also, why are the rulings so batshit all over the place? Like, here, G2 got punished by not having a map veto in this game. That's bizarre. In the past, they've given like
help BBL or whoever they were playing.
Yeah, it was supposed to help BBL, and then BBL got cancelled, so it helped Ascend. It's just rolling the dice, and it randomly helps a team. I don't know, whatever.
Did you want to talk about this match?
Yeah, let's talk about the match anyway. So, Ascend managed to get Bind and Split into this map pool, and G2 knew that Bind was coming up. Because they didn't have any map vetoes and Ascend always picked Bind. So, in a weird way, it's actually, I mean, it would have helped their prep either way, because if G2 don't ban Bind, then they know Ascend are going to pick it. But for the first time since Gambit won in like the middle of 2021 or something, Balla, did you say they'd won 23 times in a row on Bind up until this game?
Yeah. Yep, and that includes in non-seeding games they've won 23. They were 23-0 since they started running this comp. So this comp was undefeated for Ascend in non-seeding games. In seeding games they lost like 3 times.
That is absolutely crazy, and I'll show you why G2 won. Because you look at the stats, okay, and Nuki's got like 420 ACS. So when I was VOD reviewing this, I didn't watch it live. I thought, okay, well this is just a god game by Nuki, isn't it? He's just running around and killed everybody. But actually, I don't think it was that. I think the second half was a bit of that. But the first half was actually kind of tactical prep, in my opinion. If you look at the timestamps, we've been having a problem with Discord today, so I'm going to make sure that... Oh, there we go. So, round 4, though. Round 4 is a great place to begin because it'll showcase what's going on with this tactic that I'm talking about. So they have their Sky holding B long, and the B long Sky Flash comes through the teleporter. And you can see here, Sky Flash comes out, catches somebody. Now, Ascend have 2 defaults. They either B-lean default, where that Sky Flash would catch nobody, or when that Sky Flash does catch somebody, it means they're trying to take Showers control, sometimes slowly, like they are here, sometimes quickly. And so that Sky Flash, if it catches somebody, gives you info that you can do stuff like this and punish the Showers player. And if it gets you no info, it tells Nuki that he can push. And so this is one of the rounds where the Sky Flash caught somebody and they were able to run that trap play. And if you go ahead to round 8, you see the other thing. They sent that flash through every time. And Ascend just didn't realize how good it was, how much info it was gathering. Because this is really specific information. Look, there's a Sky Flash. Flash doesn't catch anybody. Nuki pushes up. Nuki grabs the orb. Nuki goes on a flank. And Nuki, does he flank this time? I think he does anyway. But as you watch this round play out, and there's a B main fight here that G2 end up kind of being in control of. It ends up going 2 for 2 though, which is kind of normal for Ascend. But yeah, Nuki eventually manages to push all the way out of Showers here. There's obviously a TP here, and I believe they end up pivoting towards the B site at some point. But Nuki just pushes, and he was pushing out of Showers all the time. Because one of the problems with ACEND's composition, I think, that people have only just started to figure out, is that without having the Sova in the sky, you really don't, they don't anyway, allocate a player to actually watch showers very often. And so Nuki was getting all of this free space. And in this post plant, they just don't expect him to be in hookah. He wraps all the way around to hookah. They don't hear a teleport noise. So they're like, okay, well, everyone's going to be CT. And they won 3 or 4 rounds on their defense side just by doing the exact same kind of thing, pushing out showers and either getting a pick on like the player market, getting a fast post plant backstab like this. They did this exact play a bunch of times. And ACEND just couldn't figure out why their strat wasn't working.
Yeah, and eventually they like pivoted to just fast hitting stuff, and that only exacerbated the situation with Nuki. I feel like G2's game plan on Bind was just so fantastic from start to finish. Like they got value in bathroom when ACEND was fighting for it, and I didn't even notice the flashes that were coming through, informing their decisions to fight in shower. But ACEND could never push that space like at all, and it's not even like even that.
Oh, that was so nasty. That is just the nastiest clip, man.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. And he gets the ace too. I just love when he just eats the shots of CNED, by the way.
It's simultaneously one of the most like this moment is so funny.
Plot armor in this.
It's
in
one
this
of
case,
the best
clips.
CNED. It's one of the best clips from Valorant because you could almost put the beginning in like a Raze highlight montage. Like this is what you do with Raze. Yeah,
bro. If that was
this
me,
is Raze played at the highest level.
I'd be splicing in clips of the court.
But then if you removed all the names for the kill onto CNED, you'd think it was just gold players. He's just reloading.
That would be like
in
a
the
Plat
open,
Chat clip that guy sends us. You know, like the knife montage clip. That could be in there.
Yeah.
That could be in those clips.
It's fantastic though. So yeah, then they went over to ACEND, and ACEND is normally a good map for G2 when they have Kellogg's playing. Mixwell is on the Jett here, and he actually played pretty well. He top frags this map. He looked really good on their attack side, and in fact, they went up on attack side, right? It's 7-5. But then CNED just came alive. I really felt like this was a battle of the Jets. Both teams were mega sloppy. I didn't think that... I still am worried about like ACEND's Ascent in general. It looks decent, but it doesn't look refined to the same degree as their split or their bind. And they really relied on like a 300 ACS carry from CNED to be able to get this map through. Because otherwise, it doesn't look like a close map because the score is 13-9. But if they hadn't had that kind of crazy entry fragging impact from CNED, I think that map could have been a loss, and they could have lost 2-0 here.
Have they made playoffs before that match? ACEND?
Yes,
No,
I
it's
think
really
so.
it's really in the air. On
Is it
that,
No,
really?
because
they lost the guild, remember?
Yeah, they lost the guild, and their
Of course, they
overall
lost
to the
score
guild. Okay.
wasn't that high. Yeah.
And there's only 3 teams that make it out of EU. It's really fucked right now.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
all,
They're
like,
there's only
right?
2-1, and Fnatic's 2-0, and Guild's 2-0, and they lost the guild. So like,
Yeah, good
it's very
point.
close.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Good point.
Well, yeah, I mean, the entire reason I brought that up was just because I'm trying to put myself in the position of some of these teams when they know that there's an EMEA, the playoff patch is going to be the new patch that's played in week 5 NA.
What? Oh, yeah, that's the playoff patch.
So it's, sorry, the new patch is being applied for playoffs in EMEA.
Yeah,
There's a better
not
way to
week
word
5.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, not week 5. So I'm just thinking if that affected in terms of some of the sloppy looks. Is this just pure copium from me huffing it?
I think they've always been a bit sloppy on Ascent.
They have.
Honestly. It's somewhere towards the middle-y bottom of their map pool. It's not all the way at the bottom like Haven or Fracture, but it's not amazing. But their split continues to be god tier.
On the map Ascent, before we move to split, I do think, again, G2 had a fantastic game plan. I don't know what's it like. Their calling in this was so much better. And the way they were abusing and using the KO was fantastic. They were constantly knifing Kilos and just pushing mid where his alarm bot would be down. They did that like 3 times and got Mixwell into fantastic positions on their attack side.
It's Nookie IGLing, I think.
It's Nookie IGLing, and it's fantastic. And there was they were looking really good on executes as well, like clean executes. Maybe sometimes it was Nookie like just adding into it, but like the utility usage was coordinated. There's often times where they were pushing off certain areas of B before hitting it, and it worked fantastic. So I have to give mad credit for G2 because they look completely different, in my opinion, this series, even on Split.
Yeah, and Split, I mean, honestly, G2 kind of lose because of the map veto here. Because you've given Ascend the maps where they're arguably the best in the world at, which is Bind and Split. And yeah, you had a great game plan for Bind, but Split, I mean, the Bone Cold diff was showcased so fucking hard at the beginning of this game. They won up 5-0, and I think Bone Cold was something like 10-0, 10-1, something.
He's back, baby.
I can't remember exactly what his KD was at the beginning, but I mean, Avova was trying to put out some one-ways of his own, and Bone Cold was like, you think you can beat me with one-ways? It was actually ridiculous. Bone Cold. Yeah, I've got a clip here which he's just like holding close, just gets a spray down on both of them. This is the bonus round where Bone Cold's got the worst weaponry as well. Just chooses that opportunity to push into B main as well because he's fucking a Chad, isn't he? And so he just takes out the next kill. He was feeling so confident, putting mad pressure on G2 and then just rinsing them when it got to the important moments. I don't know.
I honestly thought for a minute I forgot the term bonus, and I thought you said bonus, like Bone Cold, like it's the bonus round because he was winning. I was like, wow, that's a new term. Never used that one before.
Oh man.
Yeah.
They had,
all in all,
they had good adjustments.
Good game. It was an entertaining game, and it really should have been an easy one for Ascend, but G2 made it much closer than it should have been. Here's a one-way from Avova, and they go, well, we can just smoke the bottom of it, can't we? And I don't know why other teams aren't realizing this, but they really have very little difficulty getting through a one-way like that compared to all the teams that fight against Ascend.
Yeah, all his one-ways are really advanced in places that are hard to take rather than trying to spot a cross or something and get a little free kill. It's literally for control. That's nice.
Yeah. That's the hard thing about Ascend Split is that it's not crazy overcomplicated the way they play the map. I mean, it's just that the tools they've got, the agents they're playing, it's relatively simple, but it's just the way that they're using it, the space that they take.
Yeah, it's sublime.
Like a one-way, a slow, paranoia maybe to set up off someone's contact, and they don't overcomplicate it. It makes it way harder to break down. The team's just so good at playing off of each other as well.
Yeah,
that's just good fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they did this. I mean, honestly, that's a huge reason they did so well at Champions was their fundamentals.
It was mad, honestly, just seeing them play Split with a comp that was from just eons ago, and yeah, I don't know. Definitely redefined in my mind what I thought about in terms of like having to only play meta comps.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
teams having to only play meta comps, but in reality, a team.
This is a meta comp now.
Yeah, it is now. It is now. Exactly. It's a Bone Cold buff patch, but yeah, it definitely redefined it. It's off the back of that, just Ascend Split.
Yeah. All right. The other big game that happened in EMEA was Liquid playing against London United, I think. And Liquid, they're still in Crazy Town. These comps, they're so fun to watch, but they really are mad. They are mad compositions. The comp, especially for Haven, we saw a little bit of this with OpTic, right? We saw the like neon comp come out for OpTic. It's not exactly the same.
It was Liquid who did it first.
Yeah, it was Liquid that did it first, of course. And on Haven, when I saw neon get picked in the OpTic game in North America, I was flustered. I was like, oh my god, how the hell are they going to play this? And I said on stream that Liquid play this, but some of their compositional swaps, I said nonsensical. What I meant was chaotic, because each of them can kind of play individually. They have the KO and the Chamber and the Sky, each of which is pretty happy playing for themselves at various times. But I said nonsensical, and Sliggy was co-streaming, and he's like, it's not nonsensical. Have you seen our comp? Have you seen how it works together? Every piece, it's magic. It's a mosaic.
I agree with Sliggy.
Well,
it is. It's a mosaic.
It is kind of brilliant. It's mad, but it's brilliant. But I want to show some of the reasons why Liquid play this comp. So I had...
By the way, this is going to be night and day to the way OpTic played it.
Well, kind of.
I think...
Yeah.
I think it is in terms of the fact that Liquid has thought about it more than just using Neon to run past utility.
Yes, they've definitely thought deeper through it than OpTic have. But I'm not, again, like, you can think through a comp really deeply, but sometimes the EMEA teams get trapped into every single agent must be used to get an area. And that means that it's exploitable because they're playing the same utility every single round.
Valorant.
Yeah.
That's why we like EMEA.
So I want to pull up round 12. Can we just start with round 12, Kurt? Which is how they take a lobby control, right, on their defensive half. So take a look at the defense side here. So they pull, they flash, they knife bottom short. So they always throw the same piece of utility. They're using suck at the beginning of the round, like 90% of the time in a lobby. They often have a molly that they combo in there. They've got the knife. They've got like the neon stun is there as well. So there's like stun into the suck, molly being put down, huge amount of stuff there. And what London United ended up doing was they would just fast hit C a lot because you know that Team Liquid are expending a huge amount of utility to take a lobby control, and there isn't going to be that gravity well on the other side of the map. Liquid's retakes, though, are fucking nice. Yeah. So that it doesn't end up working perfectly, but I just thought that was an interesting example
very similar to
how all of the agents on Liquid are trying to work together for that A lobby control, and yet it still leaves other areas of the map open if you can find those timings and exploit it. I think it's intriguing, this style.
Kind of spotted that towards literally the same towards the end of the half when they played against some of that comp. But I don't know. Liquid, they would normally play the KO from mid. They knife A lobby. You know what I mean? So that the KO has another body placed over towards C.
Yeah,
at least they did back then.
They were knifing short almost all of the rounds this time. Yeah.
I wonder why. Is that just to?
I think because people are dashing down past their utility in a lobby, so it's like countering the counter. I think
they also were they switched up and put the KO there because he had a new nade that he was using in the center of a lobby that was paired with the Gravwell.
Yeah, I think he was throwing it from short up and through the roof of a lobby, and it would land in the center of the Gravwell. So you have neon stun into the suck, KO molly in there, flash.
There's a roof in a lobby?
Yeah,
there's like a hole in it?
Yeah, there's a hole.
There's a little tiny
Really?
hole.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether you can see it in the VOD, but yeah, it's there.
No,
because it's not the first time that utility has been comboed there that's gone through the roof.
Wasn't it?
So
there was nades as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of what Team Liquid were doing well, though, in this map was Yampy, Scream, Nevera finding like magical moments. Obviously, their composition still works well, but I think London United actually did get a good read of how to play around it, and they relied a bit on those big impact moments from their players to get them through it. I still don't think the comp is bad at all, but I don't think it's something that is like solved. This is the new meta. It's impossible to play around.
It's never going to be the new meta with Liquid. They're just they. I feel like part of their strengths is that they do play these comps, and it's like you really do force your opponents to think. I mean, especially if you're not going to be as prepped on them. If it's like the first time you're seeing a Liquid special where suddenly they're running 4 duelists, and you're like, "What the fuck are we looking at?" Yeah. It's like Phoenix. What?
I also want to point out,
bounce off the spike.
Bounced off of Breach's toes, bro.
I also want to point out that round, Soulcast runs through a lobby, kind of like how OpTic were playing it, right? He runs past all of that A lobby control. If you take a look at round 20, it's what Soulcast was normally doing. Soulcast wasn't normally running past the utility. He was normally doing a little loop in a lobby. Look at him on the minimap here. He runs forwards, and he just runs away again. He's like running into a lobby, I guess for the sound cue and to bait out utility, and then he just runs out again. And that was Soulcast's normal thing to do. Look at him, he's just kind of doing these like running peaks.
That's a pretty interesting idea, honestly. Like obviously everywhere else that's been using Neon, it's very much like the single-celled organism stage compared to Liquid and how they use it. Like using Neon just to bait peak and to force utility and then leave versus just running through it like how OpTic was doing, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think he's looking for an operator. He's looking to see whether they're breach stunning and sucking. He's anticipating that London are gonna throw counter utility, right? He's like, okay, they know I'm Neon. They know I'm gonna run through a lobby. Let me try and jiggle peek, force something out, see where we're at afterwards. That was kind of lacking from Victor's game, I think, just purely because of the experience. But also, it means that they don't actually get that neon value in a lot of the rounds because they're scared it's getting countered. So
remember how everyone used to think how broken Op was in like early stages of the game? Maybe Neon is finally just a really late development to that. It's like, well, you can just run past the Op. Don't worry about it.
you can slide under the bullets like Matrix.
Early op was insane though.
It was really strong. Yeah.
That was an insane gun.
Also, there was no smokers like Astra or current Brim.
I mean, it's a testament to how insane it was because I mean TSM were dominant.
Just
Nice.
cheap
Good one.
shots.
Sorry,
Just
I shouldn't. I honestly
cheap
shouldn't.
shots.
All
I
right,
don't know.
fucking Maui snake. I don't know if you guys. get
I
that
do know
reference.
that reference. I do know that reference. I saw it happen on Twitter.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Good
So-
stuff.
This game ended
I
up being
thought that-
pretty close, though.
London United was mad prep for it though. I'll be honest. Like I don't even think they adapted like at all. There was so many moments that number one, Molsey was just dashing past half the time the stuns they were using in a lobby, and that was like a big part of it. But on attacking side, the way they were abusing EMP was insane. I don't know if you saw the clip I posted in this game.
Yes.
Way up.
Yeah,
Where
round
they
9.
shock Yampy's TP, his anchor, right as the lockdown ends, and Yampy's trying to like abuse the chamber so they could stay until the very last second to get an op pick while the lockdown goes off, and he just can't TP and he just fucked because he just gets locked down. It was sick. There's many moments like that in this entire series. Yeah, right here. They shocked his lockdown right before his TP right before that. So over this entire series, London United continue to impress me, and maybe they're not the best team individually or whatever, but really fun to watch. Like really fun to watch.
Yeah, they're a smart team. They're cool. They're putting Lithuania on the map. There's a lot of good talent in that scene actually in EMEA. But yeah, that's there weren't that many matches that happened. There was the Turkish match as well. There was BBL played against SMB, which didn't go the way that a lot of people were expecting. BBL ended up taking that one, but both of those teams are kind of languishing at the bottom, and SMB is yet to. I think they yet to win a map, aren't they? Something horrendous like that. I don't know. Maybe they have won a couple, but it's been really bad running for SMB.
Right. No map wins.
Yeah, no map wins across
No
their
map
4
wins?
matches so far for SMB.
No.
Including against BBL, who they would domestically, I think, be slightly favored against. Anyway, it's been rough time to be a Turkish fan. Obviously,
But
the
no
Turkish...
bitches meme.
Oh, 3 matches, sorry. Obviously, the Turkish scene has crazy talent, but it's not working at the moment. It's not working. Let's go on to some EMEA Week 5 predictions, though, because Week 5 is actually going to have some big games returning, hopefully, as long as everything works out for them. So... we have a little new addition to the show. Kurt's been working on some stuff, and we'll see whether it works.
It works.
It should work. It should work. So we now have running stats of how good people's predictions were.
I don't like that.
I do. I like it.
I'm not a fan of that.
So let's take a look. Let's take a look at last week's stats. Ooh.
Any
That's
predators?
crazy.
Any good predictions?
That's crazy. You only include last week's stats. That's some bullshit.
No, we have to start somewhere. We have to
there
start
it is.
somewhere.
There's the total record.
That's a lot of
Balla,
losses.
welcome to the good
Wait,
prediction.
why the fuck
Welcome.
did you use like some ghetto ass picture of me from my stream and you guys get all professional?
Yo, send me a good picture. I'll use it.
Kurt's
Welcome to
done
the good
it early.
prediction club. Anyone else at a 75%?
Ooh, so nice.
What's going on with yours, mate?
I'm more of an entertainer when it comes to my preds. I also didn't think we'd be recording these. So
Why have we got
you're
just
trying.
bold in it, man? Just like, by the way,
listen, I
Kurt's writing
pred
the code. This one's called the dog shit highlighter.
I don't pred who I think's gonna win. I pred for the people, for the narratives.
For the people, for the masses.
I've always done this.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, let's have a look
There's
then.
not a single thought behind my eyes.
These are the games coming up for this week in EMEA. We're going to start things off with London United, the team that Balla was impressed with. They are facing off against Gambit. And everyone's gone with Gambit.
Okay, everyone Gambit.
Okay. Could still be a cool game, though. Gambit did get upset last time by FPX.
I actually think that's a team, by the way, that when the new patch changes go live, like I don't know if they're going to be hurt, but I am wondering to see like with all the changes to Viper and to Astra, like what does Gambit look like moving forward? You know, like
True.
how does this change their game? Like, are they going to put more emphasis on Redguard like fragging? Are they going to like do some other interesting shit with just like there's a lot of options for them to change like how they stylistically look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one way we
changes.
didn't even talk about was the Viper nerfs, and that's a huge
Yeah.
Nats nerf. The
Yeah.
fucking way that he
Yes.
looks. And I guess he hasn't really been playing that much Viper a lot, but
Yeah. But also, you won't be able to see that in the game against London. You'll have to wait until the
No.
playoffs. So,
No, but that was answering a
True.
previous question
True.
from like 45 minutes ago that I had to answer now.
okay.
Nice.
Well, the next
Good.
game then is FPX, the team that took down Gambit, playing against Team Liquid. And everyone's gone Liquid.
We're gone Liquid.
Low-key, I'm looking at this game and thinking there is a chance of an upset happening here because
For sure,
Liquid have looked
yeah.
mortal. They haven't looked as good as they did during their LCQ run, and FPX have had moments of just individuals playing brilliantly, getting artists on the Jett, getting Zipan on the Raze or the Reyna or whatever, and just getting in their faces. I think it could end up being a banger. It's that old.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
artist playing against his former team. It's a
Didn't
cool game.
pred them though, did you?
No, I didn't pred them because Liquid are still the favorites. But
We need to have like a visual representation of the predictions to where like it also weighs how heavily we think it could swing either way. So I want it to be like a scale, and it's like a bunch of chips.
Are you
and
gonna
it's
eat
kinda
your
like
You
little-
looks like you're
prediction
eating
there?
your little.
I tried to put the
pretzel.
predictions in a spot where it wouldn't get in the way, but your
Above-
framing
above our
doesn't
heads.
help.
tastes like innovation.
all right, the next game is Na'Vi playing against Big. Who have we got in Na'Vi? Big, and everyone's gone for
Yeah.
Na'Vi. I think that makes sense as well. I
Yeah,
think
Navi are a good team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Big have
Na'Vi
kind
are
of
looking
struggled.
really, really good. And
Big have
have
kind of
not
struggled
looked
since their
amazing.
qualification run. So maybe a bounce back. Okay, the next game though. The next game will be a banger. All right. Next game will be a banger. Both of these orgs have the
Surely
best teams in
someone-
EMEA Game Changers. It's G2 against Guild. Okay, someone's got. Oh, everyone went Guild. Everyone went
To be
Guild.
fair,
Fuck.
I did make this prediction before I watched the G2 game, and I think it's going to be way closer now, but it's still Guild favored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as G2 don't give them all of the map vetoes, then they have a chance. They have a chance. All right. Okay. Listen. This next one though. This next one is going to be. Someone's gone for a big one. BBL against ACEND, the reigning champions, and everyone's gone for the same.
You said this
I
was
mean,
going to be.
you
Someone's
think
going to be
this is
going
going to
for
be a
it.
big one? This
No.
one
This
one's
gonna
gonna be a big one?
really?
Okay, the
Yeah.
next one. The next one.
There's only one more game left.
SMB, the team that hasn't won a map yet, against Fnatic. Everyone's gone with Fnatic.
I don't think so.
Man, we really do need some entertainment factor in this, Bren. Like, come
Yeah.
on, this is boring.
Yeah, sorry.
we need Turkish
I mean-
Valorant enjoyers.
Listen, I said
now
I
that it's
pred for the people,
scored.
but I got to catch up.
I mean, honestly, there are still some good games, even though we've predicted them all. I think London Gambit, FPX Liquid, and G2 Guild, those are three actually good games this week in EMEA, even though they all have a favorite and an underdog. Those, yeah, the other three games.
But most games have a favorite and an underdog. So, you know, that's just there's
True.
nothing wrong with that.
True,
So-
but yeah, according to us, it's predetermined who's going to win.
Well, that's
and
because we
lose.
don't have our visual scale representation of the predictions yet, where we're going to stack it up.
True. Yeah, are you going to work
Watch
on
out as
that?
a
You're going to work on that physical prop.
I'm definitely, yeah, it's going to be a physical prop. It's going to be a cutaway gag where we put giant chips on it. Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's talk about North America instead, shall we? Let's begin with my favorite topic, 100 Thieves.
Okay. Is that the money? Oh, it's the, no, okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether we have the rights to Chopin's funeral march,
with a
but
kazoo.
it's they've bummed out. They got 0 wins. They have
so
one
far.
Yeah,
0 wins
Yeah, they can
so
still play
far.
EG. They can still play EG.
Yep.
Think about that, huh?
true.
Battle of the
True.
bottom tier
Yes.
of Group A.
Yes. So 100 Thieves have been eliminated from VCT without winning a match. And let's just talk a bit about their game against Exet. They obviously put themselves in a tough position, but did they have a chance? I think they had some chance here.
I mean,
They
moment.
managed actually to get. I mean, Exet usually second band split, and 100 Thieves have been trying to play a lot of split. I know the community's been in uproar about the pick in general, but against Exet, it made some sense, and then it ended 13-4.
Again, walked away from this thinking Exet Fracture needs work. Like, I don't know. Definitely, you could see some work that had been put in by 100 Thieves on Fracture. They had some like set plays. I didn't grab clips of this because I'm lazy. And also, we're just talking generalities about 100 Thieves. So I thought,
sure,
why not just watch the VOD at some random moments play out? But yeah, Split was painful. Split was painful on the attack side, man, because they ended up banning Icebox in a second round of bans to go to Split. And I think I was coach streaming at the time, and I said, I don't mind the Split pick if they've learned from their mistakes from last week, where the only time they showed initiative and took a ramp control on attack was when Bang was playing and used Dog and Util, and they would play it with Hiko together. And then they switched Bang to Breach. So they didn't even have the Dog anymore to take space. And the same issues just kept cropping up on our attack side. And it just felt slowly but surely, it was like watching a balloon deflate at a child's birthday party. And it was the only balloon they could get. And it was so sad to watch, man. It was so sad. And also, I mean, yeah, it was just sad.
Can we, Kurt, I know we didn't pull this clip beforehand, but if you go to twitch.tv/nadeshot and look at his most viewed clips of the week.
It's rough.
No.
Come on.
It's not.
But Kurt's ragging on you, bro. Why are you fucking trying to rub it in, man?
I'm not trying to rub it in, but my fucking God, it was so funny. Like,
it was a funny moment.
It was
so
very
funny.
Dude, the defuse at the end of Breeze. Oh, dude, this
is just, he's so excited.
Oh.
And then he realizes that they just stuck the defuse.
Oh, God, that's so painful.
And that is just all 7 stages of grief.
And then you have you just have what's looking like the Grim Reaper, Tanner Metro, and Mimi. Like they're all black for 100 Thieves.
Man.
I mean, that clip was hilarious, but also I do really respect how much the guy cares about the success of the team. It just doesn't bleed into the team at all. But it's nice to see him so invested.
Yeah, there's not many owners who are that invested.
No.
But
and also
investment
willing
is
to.
a double-edged sword.
It is.
It is a
Not
double-edged
like-
sword because people are seeing that, and then, I mean, the guy's just getting clowned on, but he does care clearly.
Yeah.
But channel that into the improvements, you know.
Yes, but also rough situation for the players too. I mean,
did you see Hiko's was saying on his stream about the scenario? There's a clip of Hiko. I'm going to paraphrase it where he was saying about where some of the issues might have arisen, basically, in terms of them picking up Eccles and why didn't they sort out the chemistry issues beforehand in trials. And it's essentially alluding to they were trying to pick up a CS player and they got lost and turned around.
Yeah.
And so the decision-making was done very late, which again just points back to the fact that I don't think it was planned out particularly well in terms of the building of the team and how to improve it. But
sometimes teams do get screwed by, like off-season
absolutely.
manipulations.
It does happen.
But listen, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse.
I still think that's poor GMing, though, at that point.
But I've already said it before too. Why are they looking at a CS player? The game's been out for 2 years. Like,
yeah, I mean,
need
especially
Valorant
when you look
players
at
right now.
Guard and version 1 and stuff like that, like you don't need to be getting old Guard CS players anymore. You don't need it.
I mean, what the rumor was Breeze was
Mhm.
Ethan's former teammate. So
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. And also they got jerked around by Nitro and Elige for a long time.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
That entire rumor where it's like Nitro and Elige are going to leave Team Liquid and it's going to be a 3-game swap or some shit. Like that was the rumor at one point.
Yeah.
And this never happened. So yeah, I think people do realize or do forget about how little, I mean, there was 3 months, but how fast that can go away when you're trying to work trials into the entire schedule. And then there's
you're
also
not
the other teams
trialing
working
a
at
CS
it.
player though. If you're bringing them over,
No.
you're not going to trial them. But yeah, after that falls to pieces. Yeah. Either way, okay, the situation is what it is. 100 Thieves have got to look towards the future. Do you think Bang and Stani are involved in that future? Do you think that either they did well enough or they fit in the team well enough or any of that kind of thing? Because I think Nadeshot specifically said, thanks to Bang and Starly for filling in. I think that those were his words on the stream, which, that's a literal, probably contractual reality. They haven't probably been signed to 3-year contracts like Baby J was. So
Well,
100
not
Thieves
that it
now have
matters,
a
but-
decision to work for in the future. Do you think Bang and Stunny are part of that?
I think they should be. I've always been a big fan of JC Stani. I think Bang is like pretty flexible. Like he fills a lot of issues like the team. He's been thrown into a lot of like shitty team situations between like TSM to now. Like I think those are two players that if you're looking forward to the future, like I don't see why you can't at the very least retrial them when you're rebuilding the team, you know? And like work around seeing like will they be able to fit into this team moving forward? But I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping them there in that roster, in my personal opinion. I think they have like good hero pools. They have a lot of different experiences. They have IGL experience. Like they can play a lot of different roles. Like it's two players that they're very good. They're good pieces to have.
I'm worried about the role overlap and where the IGLing comes from too. I think Stanny has said in the past that he doesn't like IGLing. He likes being a secondary IGL. I don't know whether Ethan wants to continue it. I don't know whether Ethan really wants to play Sova again in the future. I also don't know whether Asuna should really be playing the Jett role and you have like Asuna, Bang, and Ethan all with flex experience on the team. In my opinion, it seems like a good time to start from the ground up, and that would necessitate letting go of Bang and Stani and kind of thinking out a whole new vision. Even though I think they're good players. What would your vague approach be, Balla? Like if you were just starting square one?
Ethan and Asuna. That means no Hiko, no JC Stanley, no Bang. I don't think those guys are championship caliber anymore. Well, Hiko, not anymore. And Bang and JC Stanley, I don't think they're there yet. I think with more experience at a high level, yes, maybe. And I think 100 Thieves could be that space if they wanted to be, but I don't think they want to be. I think they want to be going to champions. I think they want to be contesting for winning champions. And I don't think they can do that with JC Stanley and Bang. Asuna and Ethan, yes.
Okay. Well,
But
what about
what's
this?
available?
Yeah, who's available? Because if you do start with a bit of a rebuild and you need, let's say you need an IGL or you need those stage 2 let's assume the next tournament's in Berlin. Like you're trying to get to Berlin right now. You're nade shot and you're like, well, holy shit, we've got to make some moves. We've got to get to Berlin. Your choices seem even more limited than they were towards the end of the off season. I don't know who the hell you pick up as an IGL. Do you have to just go with Ethan?
Com's available.
Com from a crew?
Yeah,
potentially
from a crew.
But is he championship caliber? You have to make concessions somewhere because of the pool available.
Are you expecting immediate results as well?
Well, you kind of have to be if you're 100 Thieves, no? You need results for the next Masters tournament if you have any chance of making champions.
But there's time from now until when they are playing in the open quals.
2 months.
Yeah, but not a ton of time to build a new
it's
roster
June.
and make them gel.
No, open qualifiers are probably going to be straight after
like May.
Reykjavik, right? So they're probably going to be in May.
Really early May.
Yeah, they don't
Maybe
have that
it's
much time here. So
my take on this is I hold the opinion that I actually think Asuna is quite good on Jett. It's clear that he's been putting a lot of time into it. I understand people's issues with that take, which is that he's an amazing flex player, if not one of the best flex players in North America. At times he's showcased that, and you're kind of pulling him away from that role, which doesn't really make sense. But it's what you were saying, Josh, as well earlier about the overlapping of the roles doesn't make sense within the team in terms of having all of these pieces that currently are just trying to fit, like they're just trying to fit in roles where they're not necessarily specialized or don't have the experience in. It comes down to, again, I'm going to be a broken record when I say this, but every time I talk about these struggling teams, it's the pre-planning when you're building the roster in the first place with a vision and a plan. And I think JC Standing and Bang are fantastic players if you wanted to include that in a grander plan, but it might mean you have to end up removing Ethan in a weird circumstance that would be, despite the fact that Ethan is a fantastic player, and then it leaves you with the IGL gap.
Right. You just mean he might not fit into
a team or a vision in the future. Aston as a player, I think I would absolutely build around, and I wouldn't have issues building around Asuna and Bang as that Jett flex kind of duo. And JC Stanley, I think, showcased that he was a very... when I was watching JC Stanley's POV, he's a very intelligent player about the way he thinks about a game, and he's willing to take an intelligent fight and then back away. He thinks about the grander scheme of like a given round and what the percentage play is, rather than ego taking another duel, feeling it in the moment. He's quite smart in that regard. He doesn't obviously put up the biggest numbers because in this case he was just playing Astra basically for the entirety of.
I mean, he
Thieves.
actually was putting up some pretty big
So
numbers.
yeah, he was. When I mean, that was when we were
Breeze is ridiculous.
making the claims of him, playing for his contract or whatever for both the players. But yeah, I think Hiko is clearly playing the Viper. I actually think that it might have been in the grander scheme of 100 Thieves. The reason they kept playing these maps like Fracture and Split when it requires so much coordination with such a new team, I was thinking, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? And it's probably because, I mean, Hiko has only really ever played the Viper and the Sova for them. So they want to put him on maps where he's still playing the Viper. I mean, he was switching to the Sentinel role, but
I think he
They only did
literally
that in
played
the Mickey
Viper.
Mouse tournaments.
I think he played Viper.
He played
every
Viper in
VCT
all
game.
the challengers
Yeah,
match
so
after the switch.
I think that played into that fact of like, obviously, if Hiko is having to play the Viper because that's the role he is comfortable on, with Ethan taking the Sova away from him, that's just a drawback from my perspective of looking him as a player. He's got a lot of history, a lot of experience, but you need to just be always evolving with the game. And if you're just going to be stuck in those roles and holding the team back, that's not a player I would want to build around.
I do feel sad for Hiko, the fact that the game in which they lost was on his birthday.
Yeah,
He had
that
a
is tragic.
He had a really poor performance with some notably bad moments that were, they stood out. And then also, it might be the last time you actually see him in pro play. I think it's a likely outcome that he could end up getting removed from the team and just moved into a content creator role. I don't know whether he wants to do that, whether he would continue to actively look for opportunities elsewhere, but that might be the last time you see the guy that was known for all of these massive clutches in Valorant. By the way, his clutch rate, when I looked it up, is half what it was in 2021. I mean, that's the thing that he's known for, and he's...
But also, I feel
rate.
like there's I'm surely there has to be some differences in the situations for these clutches as well, like just because of where the pre-round leads up to this, like having a more functional team.
Well, I mean, you're just looking at averages, so
exactly.
Yeah, but also,
even though the stats are different, I think just the team situation probably plays a critical
I don't think it does really.
No, watching his POV, he's in similar situations as what he was previously, where he's in these clutch scenarios.
I think many 1v1s and 1v2s compared to what you would expect from him.
The major difference is everybody is looking at Hiko right now as it's human nature, I think, to try and quantify problems into just one big thing and if we remove this player, then the problem will be solved. Or why are they doing this? We're looking for just one big problem. And right now, the narrative is that Hiko is that big problem. And it always has been, actually, for quite some time. People have been screaming that from the mountaintops. But in the past, I don't think it ever got to him because he still put up the clutches and the team was still seeing some success, they're finishing top 4. But in this scenario, there's never been more scrutiny on him as a player, especially right here, right now. And you could see that materialize in the 1v1 clutches and in the clutch performances. And he's playing a role like the Viper where he's not as comfortable because he's basically only played Sova his entire career playing the game. So yeah, I mean, I do feel for him, man. I mean, I could see the pressure mounting and it affecting his play in those scenarios.
Yeah. Anyway, 100 Thieves have been the 100 Thieves and TSM we've talked about more this year than any other teams, and they haven't been the top teams at all. So I think it's time to move on with our North American discussion. Sentinels played against Rise this week, and it was a pretty decent game, actually. Rise started off with a win on Haven. Sentinels squeaked out the victory afterwards. They looked pretty good in the second map, third map overall, but that first one got pretty wonky. And Rise themselves have been up and down. But overall, Sentinels still have a pretty strong record. They're guaranteed into playoffs, whereas a team like OpTic aren't. What do you think about this game overall? I thought this was a bit of a weird one, personally.
Yeah, I really like this game, honestly. It definitely was weird, but this is the best I've seen Rise play the entire time, even though they lost. I feel like they actually almost not eclipsed, that's a bad way to say it, but they were LCQ Form Plus, in my opinion, because the executes that they have on Haven, on Bind, actually every single map were pretty clean. It felt rehearsed. It felt really nice. And Sentinels was still able to deal with it pretty well. I mean, you still see the gaps that we talked about last week, Josh argued about with Sentinels, but at the same time, they still have that Sentinels magic. There was some bullshit in this series, from Sentinels' perspective, like Stick 10s, Shazam in some instances, a little ridiculous. But I still I still don't see Sentinels not making a top 4 at the very least, and I still have high chances for them to make Reykjavik just because they're Sentinels and they have that level of magic in a sense.
I mean, definitely with this new patch, I think it's so good for them because I really
Sure.
do think that they were falling behind on this current meta, this current like way that the top teams are playing.
Yeah.
But with a bit of a reset button, this team's individual talent can shine even more than it did before, and they have so much individual talent.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was talking about, by the way. Just like this anti-eco, where Rise just pushes, and they actually have a flash for Shanks through his smoke. Like stuff like that has been completely missing from Rise. They've like attempted it, but oftentimes they get stuck before even that happens. That push on A was happening frequently. You can pull up the next clip too, but there is still pitfalls in how Rise plays. And oftentimes that comes when Shanks is dead and they try to do the same execute. They just don't have the space to build and take back sight. And Sentinels is really, really easy, able to take it apart. And there's also flubs like missing a smoke and just generally Sentinels is really good at taking advantage of those situations, which I think carries them ahead of everything else. You could also pull up the next clip. There was mistakes on both ends, in my opinion. At least I'm only going to break down a couple rounds from Haven, where Sentinels and Shazam is thinking like too much about the situation. This was a thing that was happening on Haven where they do the regular thing, the same old thing that Sentinels always does, where they're trying to take a lobby control, they smoke, they dart, whatever, and then Tens takes the angle. They smoke here, and Shazam's trying to find out if they actually come down short with the smoke. And the way that he drones actually gives them misinformation. And eventually, I think there's something else that tells them that, oh, this is clear. He breaks the drone from that side, he peeks short, and then he leaves Tens, and Tens is or who is this? Dapper with the chamber ult is holding the angle, and Shazam thinks he can rotate. So he rotates, and then Shanks just pounces on them, and they take advantage of the situation in a really, really nice way. Again, something that I haven't really seen Rise really do much in all of their games so far.
They comboed the knife here to stop Dapper being able to teleport away and then collapsed onto him. It was pretty lovely. And this is the kind of stuff that Sentinels doesn't do on their attack side, is like take a lobby, return to a lobby, explode out of a lobby. But that is really nice. The knife and then the collapse from Shanks, really good. And it just means that you're so close to the site, so all of your utility can explode on at once. When Sentinels was on their attack half Haven, they were like trying to throw their util on when they were doing a C-split. They would like throw it from grass. They'd be like popping their seekers and their flashes and stuff like that from so far back that it gives the anchors a ton of time to get set up, put down their own utility, put the pull, put the molly. You know, like it feels like they were missing some crucial element in the meta right now, which is why I think next meta, when you can just go faster or you can be more fluid, I think that's going to be so much better for
simpler.
them. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. Yeah, Rise
definitely
though
felt like a return to Rise, right? I like it felt like Rise was finally the Rise I was thinking they were going to look like all group stage, and they just hadn't really shown for me until this match. Like it was still wonky as hell though, this entire series, I think at times. But
yeah, we still got, I don't know, man. I still don't know what to think about Rise. Hot and cold Rise, where they just have these moments of...
I mean, they very likely it might be out of playoffs here if OpTic can beat Knights. So it's like they come right at the worst time to be their best.
They still have to win their match.
They still have to win their match, and OpTic has to lose their match. It's
it's very unlikely circumstances.
On a new patch, like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, the way that Rise end up playing, I kind of feel like it might favor Rise in a new patch as well as a team. Like if we're thinking about teams that might improve, we were on the topic earlier, but in general, I don't know, they off the back of like Poise calling, it's very much like trying to grab an advantage during the mid rounds, like maybe somebody contacting in, and then Poise makes a big call, like a big rotation or maybe just a fake play. I think they could do well in the kind of in the environment, the agents that are going to be played, assuming like Brim gets played a lot more, and less of the Astra, I guess.
God, Zoms got destroyed by those recon darts as well when he was playing on C. Dapper actually had, in this round, he uses, I think, his rendezvous to get back into the site, right?
It just teleports in behind.
Yeah, I think he teleported back into back plat to help Zoms backside. He's not there to be able to break the recon, but he can kind of flood rotate with the with the rendezvous.
Coming in.
I love the setup that KO players are doing now as well, where I don't know if they've only just started doing it recently, but I've been noticing it more recently, where they just play on default box, they pop flash out the side, like right on top of that box, and then they play off the contact of one of their players.
Yeah.
And it's just
Go through the
so
smoke.
it's so awkward because you're at the different elevation all the time. Anyway, yeah, I think the patch will favor both these teams as well. Just a return to fundamentals is the way I see this upcoming meta in week 5. We'll see though, but yeah, I mean, it could end up benefiting both of these teams in this.
I kind of disagree for Rise, specifically because I feel like a large part of why they struggled this season was they were trying to implement the meta, but I don't think they quite understood. Like, I'm thinking specifically like their Ascent matches, the way that they're using the KO. I don't think they quite understood what was good about the comp. Maybe they did, but oftentimes they're just not getting value out of KO, out of a lot of different things. So I think that it might take them a minute, because Poise is a great IGL, don't get me wrong, but in those moments, it was do or die by the calls, and sometimes the calls were just not correct.
No, for sure. I think
You know what I
Poise has
mean?
been struggling a little bit as IGLing in this meta, like this patch. I 100% agree with that in some of it. But that's kind of why I think, though, like when you're saying like Neptune's not really working with the rest of his team with his KO util, yeah, they're definitely behind in that regard. Some KO players, they don't really play as much for their util to set their team up. Like, I think Zelsis is the prime example of a player that uses KO to set his team up for great advantages. You know what I mean?
Hey, Victor was doing it really well as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in this game he was great. Neptune was great.
Yeah,
There's
he
a lot of
popped off actually
individuality,
in
but
this game.
first he was like getting his stuff down, and it was good. So no,
Yeah.
in the beginning, yes, I agree though.
Do we want to tackle the ladder 2 maps, or should we move on to the next game, Balla?
I don't have anything specific for the next 2 maps, like breakdowns or anything like that. If you want to talk generally, I think that Bind, for example, showed exactly why Sentinels is good, which is they go for simple stuff. People understand what is happening when they take a site, but it's not pre-planned. It's not like crazy utility dumps or anything like that. They just know what angles need to be cleared, and that's how they end up winning. There was some bullshit for sure. There's a couple rounds that I did put in there that are some bullshit. Like let's see.
Show me the
Round
bullshit.
10, round 10, send bullshit is what I learned. And it just continues happening for Sentinel. So Shazam was really good at calling in this game. So yeah, this is a anti-eco. There's Frenzy's going all over the place, and 10 just runs at him with a Vandal, and Ren sprays headshots him. Okay, very nice. And then eventually they go down to a 1v2, and Sick has some bullshit happen at the final situation. They don't get a kill here for some reason. Somehow when they triple peek one dude or 2 dudes, I don't get it. And then yeah, this is what happens. Yeet. Running around.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
That is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is mad. You can't do that with a Vandal. Can't do
No,
that with a
you
Vandal.
can't do that with a Vandal.
Jens did it. I mean, he did it like 2 seconds ago.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, they're mad
But
skilled.
those are the type of situations that Sentinels will probably just continue to like. Surely the bullshit will just be amplified in the next patch in 4.04, you know, like, because it's gonna feel like, oh, it's bullshit, but it's not really bullshit at times. It's just like individual skill with strong timing and positioning with a sprinkling of the Valorant bullshit in there. You know?
And being more chaotic for sure. A little
Yeah.
sprinkle.
Just a sprinkle of the game being fundamentally broken. Okay. Knights played against NRG as well, and it was kind of a breakout performance for Knights, I think. They had one of those big games where, all right, now you've got to really start respecting this team. They can do something here. And they have qualified, right? They have officially made it through. They are, at the moment, qualified, whereas OpTic are not, despite the fact that they're behind.
In a weird way, but yeah.
Very strange. But, the NRG, they were looking good in some of their games. They come into the Knights game. NRG remove Ascent, which is Knight's best map. And NRG get to play on Breeze. They've got Haven at the end that NRG don't mind playing at all. And it just looked limp. It
Yeah.
looked like Knights were a much fundamentally better team.
Well, it was looking limp towards the end, I think, as well. Because there were moments where it was back and forth, and Hayes as an individual wrangled it back.
Hayes was the best fragger for a lot of this series.
Owned, man. But honestly, a lot of the narratives over the course of these maps, in particular the first half of Breeze and Haven as a whole, was a bit of a Jett diff with Ban just dominating in terms of finding opportunities for his team. Like, obviously, you look at the numbers here, Ziff is ahead of him in terms of the kills and whatnot, but that's mainly off the back of Ban being able to just consistently get the first pick or just set up whatever with the op. I mean, I pulled some clips as well on Breeze for the first half of this one. You can go to the notes are working, thankfully. The round 6, the first one, where Ban is being set up to be pushed into Cave and Breeze. And this was something that they were doing a couple of times, but yeah, they were shoving a bunch of utility into Cave and Breeze, pushing Ban into these 4 positions. He'd get a pick, and he'd back off. And it felt like NRG were being caught unaware by that a couple of times, like over the course of it. But it was just that consistent value that Ban was providing, and like even just skipping ahead until I think like 50 seconds into this round.
Could have had another there.
He does just consistently get these picks. Like, he gets one here as well as he's just watching into Nest. He knows that they've been lurking into mid, so there's always the possibility his team's locking down that area. He was absolutely frying, man. He was frying, and then he clutches out the rest of this round as well when NRG go for these late hits. And this first half only started to get wrangled back into the control and hands of NRG when Hazed was honestly just bringing the magic, honestly. In my eyes, I was looking at it as a bit of a experience diff. The guy's been in this scenario so many times where you're at the off the back in these rounds when you're losing, and he was clutching out some I don't know, some unbelievable rounds for them.
For NRG though too, rounds like this where you're just getting picked apart by Ban, it's not necessarily Ban hitting something crazy or getting pressured and, you know, doing something amazing under pressure. Yeah. It reminds me of my rank games where your team doesn't control any of the map, and then they get peeked and they die, and you're like, oh fuck, and then another person's like, I'll make a play, and peeks and dies, but you don't actually control any space. You don't
point out
own anywhere.
Off of this as well, this first map, look at Android's KD stats here.
Yeah.
He did not get value on the chamber at all.
And he's 1 of 5 in first
4 kills on the first half, 2 kills in the second half. And they were on defense side on the second half, where it should theoretically be easier for a chamber player to find that value as much, rather than the pressure being on him to try and, you know, get the picks or whatever.
You know the mad thing too? Scuba didn't even have that crazy of a series. Normally Scuba has a really outsized impact.
His best map was Bind, and it was the map they lost.
Yeah, he's like +5, you know, just like really decent performances, but nothing crazy. And then, I mean, I guess his Bind was pretty crazy, but overall in the series, not lighting the world on fire like he sometimes does, and they still comfortably handled NRG.
Yeah. I thought that the Breeze was really dominated by just the early momentum that Ban was able to build up with those first picks. And NRG just couldn't quite shut it down. Bind was a different story. It was a weird one as well. We don't have to look at it too long, because when I was watching Bind, they completely switched out their comp, NRG. They're playing the kind of like the EU comp. Yeah, they're playing the Ascend comp. Playing the Ascend comp. And I was wondering, like, ooh, okay, they're playing this, but is this just something they're pulling out? But they actually played it pretty well. They had a great understanding. It was like slowly taking map control. There might be a clip that really
completely different than like what we saw with Ascend earlier. Like,
round 16.
Different. They were throwing like Team Liquid slows, you know, over bathroom, over long, like that type of thing. To like,
they also walled short and died. So
yes,
they had a lot of
a few times. That happened a few times.
I'm not gonna say it was better than Ascend, Balla.
I thought this round
was better than Ascend. That's not what I was trying to claim at all.
This round was a great example of just how, because I was worried about their attack side, basically.
Right.
Like, how are they going to play this on attack side? But they had a great understanding. In the minimap, what you can't see on the other side is that they're slowly contacting and taking space in B long as well, while they're pressuring showers this entire time. They're forcing Knights to use utility. This entire map felt a bit like Knights didn't know how to play against this as much. And so, like, especially the double duelist comp, it runs out of utility quick if it just gets dragged out of you. And so NRG were playing a pretty good game on this comp. I don't really have much else to talk about regarding this. I think some Sage as well. The guy was popping off sometimes. Like, they were finding it difficult to get past the Sage utility. But they would do this where they would slow play on the attack. They cut noise. Knights had no idea what the hell was going on, because they just weren't taking the initiative in terms of taking the map control on defense side, which sometimes I think you need to do with a double duelist comp if you play on Bind.
I have a question for you all.
Yeah.
Can Knights do any serious damage in the playoffs?
I think so.
Is this a team that can get an upset, can actually knock somebody out, can do something interesting? Or is it just going to be like it's them and LG are the weakest teams in the playoffs?
People have been sleeping on Knights. I'll say this, I mean, you guys can take the point. I've been talking, talking the entire time. But I think every single week they've been making improvements. They've been getting better and better in terms of playing off of each other, in terms of having cute little ideas. Their mid-round calls or like their ideas, whoever is doing the IGLing for them, I can't remember who it is. Oh, it's Frosty, right?
Frosty.
It's Frosty.
They've been making improvements, I think, week on week, but they've been falling to the wayside and people haven't been looking at them as much because obviously the dominant things we've been looking at have been 100 Thieves or like the other teams that we deem, at the very, very top. But genuinely, if they keep making these week on week improvements, I could see it.
Who would they beat, though?
I mean, I think they could definitely be. I think they're definitively better than. I kind of feel like they're definitively better than LG right now after that match. I think they look fundamentally like a lot better than them. I think LG leans really heavily still on like Mata and B-Dog, while Knights I think are a little bit more all-rounded, especially like their look over this last match. Yeah, Ban dominated, but like I don't know. I think that just overall their map control, like their actual set plays, were looking a lot better than what I felt from LG. I've never really like looked at LG and been like, oh, this team is like looking like a really, really well-rounded team. It's always felt like kind of one-dimensional in the way they played. So,
okay, let me set you up a theoretical bracket here. Let me set you up a theoretical bracket. Knights would end up fighting. Knights qualify. They're in 4th place. They go up against the first seed of Group A. That's let's say it's Cloud9. Play against Cloud9. I would assume we all think Cloud9 win that game. They drop down into the lower bracket and they play against the other team that had been beaten in the lower bracket. Now, I think they'd match up against a team from their own group at that point, wouldn't they? Because of the way the bracket would get flipped. So we're talking about them fighting for elimination against OpTic, Sentinels, V1. Like, so I think that's how a bracket would work. So can they actually beat any of the teams from their group that they have qualified with? Because at the moment, they only have wins over Rise and NRG, who are below them.
I think they could beat Sentinels in a rematch. I don't really have a lot of confidence in them versus version 1 or OpTic currently though. But in a rematch, I think they could beat Sentinels. Like if they have the same form that they did in their past, in the match in NRG, because they looked really, really good. And if Sentinels also maintained the same form they had in their latest match, where it was good, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was just very fundamental, like extremely fundamental gameplay.
I mean, that would be an absurd way for Sentinels to go out, losing the first round and then just get insted by Knights in the lower.
People think that though, because like I said, I don't think people have been paying close attention to Knights as much. Another thing that blindsides people is the Ascent pick, where people say, "Oh, they're so good at Ascent," and when you look at their Ascent, I see holes all over the place with Knights' Ascent. It's just teams don't know how to play into the Sage, but they have been making improvements. I think. I don't know. You can't sleep on this team.
Yep. I think a realistic scenario is in your bracket is that they actually somehow, I don't know how they would take the 3rd seed, but this match, I guess they'd have to beat OpTic, and that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think they could beat Sentinels. I think they're better than XSET and Luminosity in Group A. That's where I'd rank them.
Okay, you think they're better than XSET right now?
I actually don't hate. I definitely think Luminosity and XSET. Yeah, I mean, like I was kind of sleeping on Knights a little bit because I didn't like their earlier matches. I was like, eh. But then the more I watched them, I'm like, I do feel kind of confident in their form right now comparatively to XSET. I think XSET's been struggling to like find their groove pretty heavily.
Yeah, they have.
I also think that your scenario is very likely, and I don't think that they are likely to beat anybody in Group B.
Sure, because it's just a tough situation to be in as you lowest seed. Yeah, well, meta change is just a phrase you can use for anything. It just increases the variability on every single match.
I'm going to say that every prediction from that.
Meta change. Just to put a cap on NRG as well, because we kind of brushed over them, but the last 2 rounds, Kurt, of the final map were great examples of just how they faded, and the confidence, you could feel it just draining out of them with their decision making. It was on Haven. The first half was a close series, back and forth between them. They managed to pull out some rounds, but then it got to the second half again, and I mean, it just faded away. Round 15 was just, I mean, Ban gets this initial pick. The EU does the fucking mannequin challenge from 2016 and just stands still and stares at him in between the doors. Like, it was, you could feel in the second half, with every round win that Knights got, suddenly the decision making got indecisive, like it's just across the board. Like the players were grouped up. They weren't confident to take areas of the map by themselves anymore. It was Knights just running over them. And when Ban's just consistently getting picks as well off the back of it, the entire series, with the exception of like Bind itself, was really dominant from just Ban, and I think in terms of his impact across the board. If he can keep that going as well, this team is a dangerous team. They are a dangerous team. He
played 34 games of ranked afterwards.
This round, pay attention to the mini-map here, man. They get 2 picks against the bonus of Knights here on the second half. They kill 2 players who are trying to play an aggressive play in A lobby, and they're like, oh, okay, it's around the minute mark, and you've got a 2-pick advantage. You're on Haven as the attackers. You could push and pull. You could just take a site with the man advantage at this point. They're probably not going to be gambling anything, and they're just so grouped. They're using a drone to clear fruit. Oh, are they pushed up close here? And they're just meandering around, slowing around, all grouped up. There's no like poking in other areas of the map, and I end up just running straight into this setup into C when the time starts trickling down, and it just
wow, they really are so indecisive.
It was so disappointing to watch because I honestly, NRG had so many close series throughout this group stage, and
they fake A and they have the side, and
it's like
goes.
And they're trying to fake this, by the way. But then Texas is like, oh, we've got the site, by the way, we've got the site for free, and he's like makes the call, and they're like, oh, okay, well let's just run back, and it's just sloppy, it's uncoordinated. The smoke phase, he doesn't expect it. Somehow Ziff gets 2 with a Spectre. Like the players aren't covering the smoke.
Android just dropped the spike to some so he could get knives, and then they delay the plan.
Yep.
It's oof.
And then obviously they end up winning out this round. I mean, they've got the Seekers online. Ziff ends up pushing this one, but it was just sloppy, and you could feel it just slipping out of their grasp. And you could feel it happening in the first map on Breeze, and Hayes was the one who wrangled it back in control, in my opinion, with his play. He was often the one who was last alive playing another play, and you could tell there was the discipline being reinstilled back into them, double swinging shit together. It went missing in this third map, and I was disappointed with NRG because they're a good team. They had very close games against some of the best teams in this group, with the exception of OpTic when they had their resurgence. But yeah, I'm left wondering, if they were in the other group, would they have made it to playoffs? Would we be looking at a different circumstance?
Opium.
Yeah, probably.
Version 1 played against OpTic, actually. And I think this was the game that proved to North America that Version 1 are capable of winning against the elite caliber teams. Now, you might say, but Josh, elite caliber teams, OpTic haven't even made it through the playoffs. But I think the level that OpTic have brought in at least some of their individual maps, if not these major matches, still has OpTic in your tier 1. At least the OpTic is still in my tier 1, even after a weird roller coaster of a match, which this was. OpTic's game against Sentinels, they blasted them on Bind, which was Sentinels map pick, and then struggled on their own map pick, brought it through in the third map. This match was very similar. First map, Ascend. OpTic
13-2.
Destroy Version 1 the same way that they destroyed Sentinels on Bind. Then on Haven, their map pick, okay, there was a weird compositional choice here, but again, it's their map pick and they lose it. This time, the crucial difference was it's a third map. It's still a good map for OpTic, but they just looked limp. They couldn't get it back together. They couldn't get that mojo back, and they ended up slipping out. So you've got a really weird, like 13-2 dominance from OpTic. Then I think it was 13-5, 13-5, right? And on Haven, they went up 5-1 and then lost 12 rounds in a row. So this series was spectacularly strange.
It was so weird.
But Version 1 played, just play the clip. Kurt, I have the clip of like a Sint where it's like, I have one clip that sums up a Sint. And you just need to play it. You just need to play the clip because I felt like it was just next level. I remember the series started and I'm like, he just dashes in and kills him on the pistol round. And like, obviously they're already so dominant ahead of this, but like, I felt like Version 1 could get nothing going on a Sint this whole time. But I didn't even think they played that poorly necessarily. No. I just think OpTic just beat them at every category. They outfragged them. Their execs were better. Their map control was better. Like, they just beat them. They actually just beat them. Like, there's nothing much to it. I don't even think V1 played like terribly. So that's all that needs to be said about a Sint. Realistically, like, OpTic was playing an OpTic. They were just playing an OpTic day. Like, they were just having an incredible moment in time, I think, and they were playing like perfect Valorant at that. The real story begins in Haven. And Haven is when Version 1 starts doing Version 1 things again. I think OpTic slowed down like pretty significantly, because that's when version 1 just like started being really aggressive, because that's what we know version 1 as, is like we're insanely aggressive. And like they did this thing, we talked about it earlier, Bren, how Liquid had thought about the Neon comp so much more.
Mhm.
But right here, it's like they just tried to run through utility with Victor on the Neon like over and over again here in A lobby. And all version 1 did is like after they noticed that, the aggressive pushed A long and just held it and made sure that as soon as the Neon's trying to get through, they were punishing them on this cross. And then the setup just stopped working entirely. Like often they were afraid to like aggressively reclear A lobby.
I love watching Victor just run his little legs around. It was so entertaining. Genuinely, it was mad entertaining watching this.
Everywhere.
Even though they lost 12 rounds in a row, it was still fun.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, I actually love the series just for the. But when we were coming into the series, we were wondering, what can V1 do against an actual top team? They haven't been tested up to that point. They haven't played against a top team. And we saw prime OpTic in that first map, where not only was FNS ahead of version 1 in terms of how they were playing, in terms of the calling of what was going on, the overall game plan, but all the players were playing with confidence, including FNS. FNS was popping the fuck off in Ascent. And then, when their quirky strategy started to get figured out by V1, I was like, holy shit, V1 are actually for real now. Normally, the difference maker for inexperienced teams, the reason we say they haven't been tested against top teams is because when you get slapped like that in map 1, you can't battle back. The momentum is in the hands of OpTic, and you cannot wrangle back the mental, to be able to find the wins in the later maps. You can't have that disconnect. A lot of inexperienced teams end up suffering. They can't really...
I think...
They can't come back mentally. But version 1... They did.
But I also think people don't quite remember that version 1 have LAN experience.
Oh, for sure.
They've played at Reykjavik. They qualified to Reykjavik. Yeah, it's not the exact same team because, I mean, Whippy couldn't actually play at the LAN, but yeah, Whippy got them there, and they've got Xander in now instead of Vanity. So there's a couple of differences. But the core of this team does actually have experience at that, in those crunch scenarios.
That's a good point.
And I think, even though at the moment in 2022, there was that question, are they good enough to play at the, are they good enough to beat tier 1 teams? That was still a valid question. The experience showcased here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it paid out. And their style, overall style too, just like crushed OpTic, because on top of that, like, sure, they got destroyed on Ascent. Like, that happens. But afterwards, like, I think when you look at Haven, I definitely think the Neon pick did hurt OpTic a bit, because they did not think
it cooled them off.
Yeah, I agree. I think it cooled them off. It was like a nice tzatziki sauce. It cooled them off significantly. It just aside of running through like the grav wells and the fault line on A lobby, I don't think they really gave any other thought to like how they wanted to, like, outside of like, we're going to push through utility quickly and take control of an area. But then, like, we saw it in an earlier clip. But they were like, when they were going to take sites, they didn't, like, sure, they threw the stuns, they got into a site fast, but they didn't actually worry about too many sight lines. They were like not great at like clearing it. They didn't have the extra smokes, they didn't have extra flashes. So they were really relying on these stuns that like hopefully were going to lock people down, but they didn't have the extra like control there. And you see even here, like, this is moments where V1 are just able to just roll them on retakes like often. Like, they didn't have like great set plays here. And I just felt like V1 additionally throughout the whole map just outpaced them. Like, anytime they saw rotation, they would rotate through, like, let's say they see them in A long, they'd go through A short, just crunch them, or like vice versa. Like, it happened a lot, and I don't think OpTic knew exactly how they wanted to play with Neon outside of like a set few circumstances.
What I don't understand, though, is that your prep coming into this week, they looked so prepped on version 1's map pick. They know that Ascent is going to be the map pick. I don't see how version 1 could have picked a different map. It just makes the most sense. And so OpTic looked insanely drilled on that map, same as they did against Sentinels. But if you're going to go for a Neon comp, you must have put some serious time into this comp. They must have done. You don't pick a Neon Breach comp and just wing it when you've only scrimmed it for a couple of days. There's no way. They must have been playing it seriously for some significant period of time. And I don't really get how their Ascent could look so fucking drilled and good, and yet the comp that they have to have put a lot of theory crafting into could look so sloppy. I suppose it's just the unfamiliarity of it.
I think it was V1 itself, in that, like, maybe it was during scrims or something, or some sort of issue where they hadn't dealt with a team playing with that much pace, which like you would expect V1 to have an incredible amount of pace. It's like that's what they do. Like they play
Yeah.
very, very aggressive on the offense and the defense. And also what really killed it a bit was on top of that, like Penny just had a heater of a fucking series. Penny really did like
Yeah, he was
dominate.
nasty.
Like he's a very honestly, like when we talk about underrated duelist players, Penny is like kind of high up on the list, I think. And like when we think about how good version 1 is, we don't really talk too often about like how good Penny really is. I think there was like a stat that came out recently is like Penny's just been like I can't remember who was putting
He's
this
the
out there.
best
It's like,
player
Dude,
statistically.
yeah, he's like the best player statistically.
I've been gassing this guy up. I've been.
No, I'm not. This is not targeting
In
it at
group
us. I'm
stages.
just saying in general. Like,
No,
I'm just saying in
I know.
general.
But
like when
for-
we talk about
for-
like the crack duelists,
When
we
I've been
forget
on the
about Penny.
desk, the people running the graphics keep telling me, haven't you already talked about Penny a lot? Because I'm like run another stat page about Penny. Because I
Yeah,
find
he's
it
crazy.
amazing the performance that Penny's had, but also the resurgence since stage 3 last year. And I'm harping on the same point again, but he fell off a fucking cliff in stage 3 last year. And so stage 3 LCQ, I was like, maybe this guy doesn't really have it anymore. But holy fuck, he's still got it. And the team system working better has just made him work better. His chamber looks fantastic. His entering is intelligent and he's popping off. This guy is
definitely the
really
system.
good.
It's
Smart
definitely
player.
the system. They're
Smart
so
player.
fluid. Like we can go ahead and move on from Haven because Haven was like,
Oh,
you wanna stay on Haven?
yet? I
Okay,
don't
what do you
get
wanna do?
OpTic's comp. I like
Okay.
back to Josh's point about how prep they are. I know NA is like love. Can you show the comp for a sec? I don't. Yeah, dude, I'm still not sold on this EA chamber thing. I know on certain maps it's good, like Fracture and Icebox, where they want an opper, and they also like the ability to have the Sentinel. But here on Haven, this is Ye's playground on Jett. It's his fucking playground. He just makes everybody look like silly fools. Even in the last time they were playing this map, like he's so good. The 1v5 against Gambit. There's so many memorable moments with Ye on this map, and they just take him off. And because they need a breach, they want a breach for Victor to have some sort of value, and they don't have anybody else to take over that Sentinel role. I think that's a fundamental role issue here with OpTic, that they are not comfortable moving away from Crashes playing Sova on certain maps. And I think that's an NA syndrome where people are like, we can't play without Sova. And I think if you need the comp to do it, then you can do it. And in certain situations, it makes sense, like this, in my opinion.
I don't think OpTic are going to continue with this comp. I think Haven,
No.
the takeaway for their side is, let's just keep Ye on Jett on this map. Yeah, it is. They've been able to figure out systems where Victor can carry on some of the other maps. His solo raise has been really good for them when they've played Fracture, or they haven't really played Split very much, but their Bind, for example, too. But I think Haven should be a Ye Jett map. At the same time, I can't be mad for them trying this in this game. I just wish it had looked a bit more. I wish it had been a bit more fleshed out. But I'm not mad that they experimented in this moment, because
I'm not mad again. I'm not mad. I wish that they weren't so stuck in the ways and they could try it where there's
they full
real
commit.
concessions made.
You mean
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they compromised.
It's they just fucking half commit and don't go for it, and then they're like, this shit sucks, and they never try it again. That's the shit that bothers me with teams like this. It's consistently they're stuck in. It's the same
You
thing
can't
with
go
100
half
Thieves.
liquid. You have to go full liquid.
Full liquid. You're just
Yeah.
in between the
Anyways.
states of matter. I mean, it makes sense. You don't like the people that you're a forward-thinking man, Balla. Okay, you want people to understand the science of Valorant, and they're just not seeing it. You need a secret fund to fund secret Valorant research. But let's go on to the final map, Icebox. This was the Kurt. I want you to bring up the LeBron James graphic. No help. I want you to bring that up because Ye had a no help moment on Chamber where I think for like a lengthy portion of the match he had like all of his team's kills essentially for OpTic. Like it was like he ended it like what 25-14. Yeah, he ended 25-14, and he was like at some ridiculous KD for like the entire series. Like he had points where he had like 20 kills and the rest of his team combined had like 15
Yeah.
or something. It was just like absurd what happened there at its baseline. But realistically, on a more stylistic level for V1, they also just outpaced them here again. Like they just worked the map better. They just worked the map better than OpTic the entire time. And I feel like OpTic really struggled to have any sort of serious map control. Like Kurt, if you go to like even like round 1, like on a pistol round, it's just V1 would do plays like this so often where they would get contact from a player, like whether this time it would be in mid, and then they wrap heavily through A. They work through A for free here, and they just like instantly crunch around here to mid to get these players. Like because OpTic is playing like slow, like pokey style, and V1 are setting up rat plays. They're setting up aggressive defensive aggression, and there's just no answer from OpTic. It's like, okay, we're gonna rotate to B, try to get the site, but we've already lost mid, we've lost players, and we're just gonna get crunched here. We have no map control realistically, and it just ends into a eventual round loss.
Yeah, I wonder whether this was a bit of a morale breaker as well, because you're coming off the back of a 13-5 loss on Haven, right? Where you try a comp and it doesn't quite work out, and you get flattened 12 rounds in a row. That's not like a normal 13-5. That feels even worse because you haven't won a single round in the last 12. And then you come into this, and it's not like you just lose the pistol. You get flanked on A like it's a ranked game, and you're like, who the fuck's supposed to be watching A? Like those kind of rounds are tilting because there's such a massive hole in your game that your opponents have exploited. And that propped its head up a little bit because OpTic's default, normally they have only Ye watching A or only Marved watching A. And on the pistol round, they didn't have either of them because they were going towards.
No, I mean,
like a
thinking about the morale breaker, this is like the morale breaker moment for me. Was it like at the beginning of this, they were going for the plant, and Zelsus just like walks in and kills 2 with a pistol on their eco. Like just kills 2 people. Like they had no one watching it. Like they didn't have anyone to like stop that aggression from Zelsus either. Like he just timed the wall. Like while the wall was down, he knew someone was planting. He just went for a play, and like they just didn't have any. They had no one watching. Literally no eyes on it, and he got 2 with. And that's crazy.
Back-breaking map.
Yeah,
honestly.
that is legitimate.
And a great indicator of the importance of confidence for the whole of OpTic. You know when they're all playing on, they're all firing on every single cylinder. You got Marved, owning the whole team, right? Ye is always going to be consistent, as you saw in this map. But when shit doesn't go your way, I love that you pointed out the fast flank by V1 on the pistol, because that is the kind of shit where they'd be in the comms like, what are these guys doing? You know what I mean? They'd be saying out loud like, what are these guys doing? And as soon as OpTic don't have the confidence to be winning those duels, like they were rolling over them on ACEND, it's like looking at a different team like the old OpTic again, which is, I don't know.
It actually did. It reminded me of
open
old
the
Envy.
weaknesses again.
Yeah,
they pried open the weaknesses of when OpTic were looking so good and so drilled over these past few weeks. Yeah, I feel
Josh,
catfished.
your point about the like prep on the first map brought when we were on the desk, we were talking, and I brought up the Gambit final and how many similarities are there now where bind against Gambit, they look so fucking prepped. They're outplaying Nats. They go 15-13 or whatever, losing overtime. And I'll tell you, being there in Berlin as well, that was looking at them play the next 2 maps, I could just see complete confidence shift. Before, in the other games where they're dominating like 100 Thieves and stuff and Sentinels, they just have so much fucking swagger. They're yelling across, but they just go silent when shit is not going their way. After they lost that first map, I could tell you right away it was over. And I think the same sort of stuff cropped up again in this series because it's an important match. They want to win it to qualify for playoffs and be done with this. And they end up cooling themselves off on the second map.
Yeah.
As GG.
It's also the most important match for OpTic because even though they're likely to make it through to playoffs, they now have to do it on the new patch. And I think this is some bullshit, honestly, because
I agree.
In my opinion, you should never be introducing...
Well, they changed it for EMEA, right?
Yeah, in fact, I don't think
hasn't been changed for an A.
I don't think they ever had any intention of introducing it during the group stage for EMEA. But for whatever reason, in North America, I think they normally ask the teams what they think. But at this point, when they ask the teams this, half the teams have already qualified and want to get on the new patch as quickly as possible. So they're going to be voting, get us onto the new patch. And then there's a couple of teams like OpTic and Rise who are like, fuck off, what you doing? And OpTic are now left in a horrendous situation where
Mhm.
this isn't just any other patch. This is a massive meta-shifting patch. This is bigger than dropping a new agent. This is a new map, essentially, because Icebox is, plays... It's maybe new map is hyperbole, but it's a very different map
It
now.
changes very
Very
I
different
think
map.
Plays
with context of the agent changes, you can call it a completely new map.
Yeah, because it could be like...
I was
you
trying
might
to
not play Viper on that map
I was
anymore.
trying to
That
play
might be an
Viper.
Omen map
I was
now.
trying to play Viper last night.
Yeah.
With the Icebox changes, and holy shit, I was like, there's no more one and done walls where you get crazy value on the retake. The changes really have helped. It sounds so fucking weird to talk about, but the very minor adjustments, I don't think it's a Viper map anymore. I actually don't.
You're smoking the fucking
I'm telling you, man, I don't think it's a Viper map anymore. Because normally
This-
Viper is so good at whole. Anyway, we're getting off topic here, but
Yeah, we're getting off. Yeah, we're getting because I was like, I feel like
Josh
the
agrees with you. I can fucking
are
tell.
so close to like the same composition.
I also think it might not be a Viper map anymore, but I think the pros will continue playing Viper in the short term for sure. And it'll require some serious like boldness to break that through, if indeed it's even true. But the point being that with all of these changes, OpTic now have to win their game against Knights, a team that are on the come up, and all of the pressure is on them. Sure, even if they lose, there's a possibility they can still go through, because Rise could also lose their game. But they might go out. Bren's prophecy might be true.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest bullshit out of it all. Regardless of OpTic and Rise playing on the new patch and having to win on a new patch, the teams they're playing against don't give a fuck what is going on. They don't care. Rise against NRG. NRG's gone. They're done for the season. It's over for them. Like they're I don't even know what they're going to be, how they're going to be playing. I don't know how they're. And this is a problem with the group stage in general. OpTic is playing against Knights, who is also already in and also going to be hard going against with the new stuff. So integrity wise, I have no clue. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me, like at all. NRG doesn't care anymore, and Knights is going to be hard practicing with the new stuff. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense the way that this is all turned out. On top
at least
of being
Knights
a
is
new
playing
patch.
for seeding. At least Knights actually has something to play for. NRG don't at all. But man, oh man, I mean, feel bad for OpTic. Because I think they would have absolutely been favored in a
if they played in week 4
in a
against Knights.
in a 4.03 world, they would have been favored to make it through to the playoffs, but they might just get boned here.
I still think they're gonna make playoffs though. Rise have to win over NRG, which you might think is a given because NRG don't care. But the point I want to make for this again is there's nothing more dangerous than a team that has nothing to play for anymore. Because they're going to start playing with confidence. They're going to start not worrying about it. These pressure matches. In the past as well, Rise as a team, because this is all contingent on Rise winning and going 2 and 3, by the way. So they win in a head-to-head against OpTic, assuming OpTic lose. Because basically Rise would have to win and OpTic would have to lose. So it's like 2 things that have to happen. Rise choke in pressure matches. If Rise know they have to win this to make playoffs, LCQ, they choked, in my opinion. Open quals in the matches that would qualify them, they underperformed rapidly. They have a history, I think, of underperforming in those matches that actually matter. And this is a match that matters in the groups right now for them. They have to win this against a team that's going to be playing with fucking whimsy, 10,000%. Got the thrusters on. NRG, I think, are going to be playing with whimsy. They don't give a fuck. Someone's going to be saying in all chat, nice try, Overwatch. And he's going to be fucking running at them with rifles, man. Like,
Hayes
genuinely,
is
I think
was contemplating like retirement at the end of their last thing. So Hayes is about to be like pulling out some weird bullshit. He'll be drinking he'll be having a nice scotch, like as he plays. Like he's gonna be like just fucking doing whatever.
Scotch.
He's just gonna be throwing down
scotch
a stimmy
guy.
and a scotch. Yeah.
That sounds very
sounds refreshing. That sounds refreshing to me.
Yeah.
So, I do think that it's
the
gonna
craziest
be a
part
wild time.
About Rise too, and this is leading back to the game against Rise and Sentinels. Josh's point a couple weeks ago was that they always play better when they're in the underdogs. They're not the underdogs, and it's a pressure match. Unlucky.
It really is true though that like when teams have nothing left to lose, they will just like win. They'll just win.
They do.
So it's a consistent fact. I feel like where teams that are just like, because I also feel like for a lot of players, I've seen this mentality a lot, where players will be like, okay, we can't win, but we can get these fucks to lose. Like that's just like, it's literally just like taking them down with you.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some week 5 predictions then. Let's see if people are putting their money where their mouth is. So
Let's see if we're a hive mind again.
So bear in
don't think we will be.
mind, dear audience, that this is on the new patch, and so we really don't know what the fuck is going on. These Preds are going to be a bit out there.
Full conjecture.
So complete speculation. Let's kick it off. First game, big game. Undefeated teams clashing in Group A. It's Cloud9 playing against the Guard, and we've gone for. Ooh,
Guard
Connor has gone for the Guard. Connor, tell me why you think the Guard is going to win this game.
I'm a guard simp. That's first of all, I'm highest tier on fan house / OnlyFans. Me for the Guard, like I'm on it 100%. I think this team. I just love this team. I love the paradigm of this team. I love what MC has done with it. I love what their organization, how they're approaching it. Like I just on a narrative level, it's captured me. It's got me in its grips. As like on a pure gameplay level, I do think like they're going to be tested pretty significantly by C9's form. But I think with the overall individual level of their players and how their performance right now, along with a lot of like the really cool things they're doing, like they're looking pretty solid on their executes. Their overall fundamentals are looking good. They have a lot of cool things they have in ready. I trust the Guard in a new patch too to just pull out something wild, to just be like, oh yeah, we got something cooked up. MC's been in the laboratory and he's gonna come out with the goggles and be like, by George, I've done it, you know. And like I just trust Guard. I just trust the Guard. I trust their system heading into a new patch.
I hold the opposite opinion because I think out of all the teams I'm thinking out, the winners and losers, it's the teams that
Cloud9's the winner.
prep a lot. It's the teams that have a lot of set trap plays. It's the plays that they rely on with Astra is a key piece in the larger mechanisms that they've cooked up. The Guard are that team in my mind. I still think they're a good team. I still think the game will be close, but I think it will be a harder adjustment for them compared to Cloud9. That's why I think I'd be leaning towards Cloud9.
You know, Cloud9 also have a ton of prep on their defense sides and trap plays and Astra stuff as well.
Yeah.
So they are going to have to adjust their side too. But when you consider that, the Cloud9 have been together for a super long time. Individual talent is through the roof. They can pug it and just dominate. And the Guard have only been good in one meta, and they've only been a team for a couple of months. And they're very prep-based. Mm-hmm. I think if the Guard wins here, it almost signifies a different level to their team, where they have instantly demonstrated an ability to adapt and move with the times that would be shocking. Like, for a team to be this good already is shocking for the Guard. But you can see how much of it is like coming from the structure and the prep and them understanding the meta and the comps that they play. If you just throw them into a new environment and they still do well, that's holy shit levels of performance, in my opinion. So I'm not going to give them that benefit of the doubt just yet. Should we move on to the next match? Okay. This one's a doozy. This one really matters. It's 100 Thieves playing against EG. God bless the casters for this one. Oh, and actually, I didn't expect this. 3 of us have gone with 100 Thieves, and again, it's Connor on his own predicting EG. I actually thought that not many people would be going for 100 Thieves here. Both teams are winless,
I didn't expect it. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think the 100 Thieves experiment, everything they did with this roster was bananas, bonkers. I didn't like it. I think it was really dumb from the get-go. And like in terms of like not getting Eccles and such like that, and like but in Baby J, but rather what they've done since then to course correct. And I think EG as a unit is currently just more motivated to win, and I have more belief in them because I think some teams, when you reach the end, they get stronger. You know, they're back up in a corner, they're gonna fight fairly. Other teams, they collapse into a neutron star and they just suck everything up into them. And that's what I feel about this 100 Thieves roster right now, is that it's just not. I just don't see it going forward. I think this is like a total collapse moment. I don't think 100 Thieves has any incentive at all to like show up here because like the org's presence itself has already said like, you've lost, so fuck you. Like, I just don't think there's going to be any motivation for this roster. While EG, like, there's something to salvage. They could potentially stay there. I think EG is just a more motivated team. I think like a more cohesive.
I think in a sick twist of destiny, 100 Thieves are actually going to be god tier in this match.
Yeah,
just to troll their
crazy.
fans.
Mm-hmm.
That would be just crazy.
I think just to
I think
a new element of the drama.
Hiko's going to 1v5.
Hiko's going to drop 50 in the first map. I think he's going to drop 50 in the first map. And the narrative, people aren't going to know what to do with themselves. The people are going to be out in the streets. They're going to be tearing their fucking clothes off.
I don't know what to do if Hiko drops 50. If Hiko drops 50, I simply don't know how to react at that point.
It's like the
It's
Michael
inflation.
Jordan game when he on his birthday, 40 years old, and dropped 40, and Hiko's going to drop 50 as well.
Yeah, Hiko on his 40th birthday as well. Gonna drop
Okay.
that. I mean, I think it's just inflation if he hits it at that point.
Next
all it
game
is.
actually does matter for seeding in Group A. It's Exet playing against LG. These are the teams battling for 3rd and 4th seed at the moment, and we've all gone for Exet. Yeah.
I'm glad your betrayal has come back, Bren.
Yeah. Well, I did it for clout. I predicted 100 Thieves last time for clout. And I got a lot of clout. I got fucking dragged by the Exet social media.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Not bad. Not bad.
get owned.
All right, let's take a look at the next game then. It's NRG playing against Rise. This is the game that Rise must win. And Bren has not put his money where his mouth is, voting for NRG. We've all gone for Rise.
what do you mean? Rise need to win.
Yeah, didn't you say... Who was arguing about... Was that you, Balla?
No.
I thought you
Rise
said...
we
need to
definitely-
win.
no,
I thought you said
he-
Rise
OpTic
need to win.
lose.
Yeah, I thought
There's
you
two,
said...
two things that need to happen.
We were just discussing OpTic, and you said Rise need to win. They've choked big games. I
Yeah.
think they can
Yep.
lose this.
Yeah.
And you've predicted them.
Because I didn't think anybody
To
else
be
was
fair.
going to pred Rise. I thought I was going to be the only one predding
No.
Rise. This is the first
thought we were
thing
on
that needs
your
to
way.
happen for my grand prophecy to fucking happen. 6
True.
weeks ago, when I
True.
said 100 Thieves and OpTic are not going to make it out of groups, I was called a madman. People were throwing rotten tomatoes at me in the streets. people were thinking this guy's fucking crazy. And if this first stage happens,
That doesn't guarantee the second
There's
stage.
no
They're
end
not.
to that
They're not connected
Galileo.
necessarily.
if this
They're not really
this,
connected. They're two
but I
independent
predicted
events.
this thinking that you guys weren't going to predict Rise. But
Why would we
No,
not
because I
predict
don't.
Rise?
Why would I
mean,
not predict Rise?
because in my
Yeah.
mind they do choke in pressure matches, and NRG have got nothing to play for.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but that's
NRG are
like
also
that's like
winless.
just whimsy. That's just the
To be
whimsy.
fair, didn't NRG shit on Rise like
Mhm.
in the first Open qualifier?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
did.
did
They did.
actually. Yeah. Yep.
Like 13-4, 13-4.
It's,
Yeah.
But that was before Rise had their dick flattened, or not Rise, but rather NRG had their dick flattened.
Yeah.
NRG had their dick flattened, and Rise had a good match versus.
I
Sentinels.
thought, yeah, I don't know. I
All
thought
right.
IBD.
Let's move
Wow.
on to the next game. It's Sentinels version 1, but a lot of people have been looking forward to this one. It should be a doozy. It's on the new patch as well. It's going to be absolutely mental. Both teams play. They're going to be super fast. I went for Sentinels here. The rest of the teams go for version 1. Here's what I'm thinking. New patch. That's literally it. Wouldn't ever pred this on the current patch. Would never pred this. I think new patch is going to favor Sentinels a lot. I've just got a feeling that this is going to be a Tenzin sick running around killing people playing double duelist on every map kind of vibe. And I think version 1, a lot of the stuff that they've been doing currently has been really good, but Sentinels really enjoy playing at that high tempo. So version 1 get tested a bit against NRG. I think this is the game where Sentinels get the win, and it fills all of their fans with copium that they're going to make it to Reykjavik, and they don't. But this is the big game where it shakes everything up, in my opinion. All right, let's move on to the last one then. It's OpTic Knights. This is the one that really matters this week. This is the game that matters, and Bren has stuck to his word and gone with Knights. You've already told us why, and it's essentially to fulfill your prophecy from 5 weeks ago. Nostradamus looking ass.
Is there anything else associated with this other than prophecy?
Do I need to
It's
add much
essentially
more?
being driven by
I've been
prophecy.
singing the praises of Knights and the improvements
Okay.
they've been making.
Yeah.
OpTic's weaknesses have been showcased in Pride Open. When they get their confidence knocked in a series, they can't seem to regain their footing. I think off the back of that last series that we just watched, it's a pressure match for them. Knights have got the pressure off their shoulders to a degree. They're playing for seeding, and honestly, this match I think is all going to be decided on how much pressure is actually applied to it, based off of Rise versus NRG. That first match, the OpTic guys are going to be fucking watching that shit, and they are going to be biting their nails. Because if Rise end up winning, and then suddenly it's now on their game to win, that is, bro. I mean, that it's the final game of the group stage.
It is
The final match of the group stage. All eyes on them. Everything on the line for them to qualify. And yeah, it all comes down to this against a Knights squad that I think have been making pretty good improvements. People have been sleeping on them, and it's pretty clear to me that they do their prep on maps and they expect certain things.
It would be funny if NRG won and all of the rest of the games of the group stage were useless.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And when I say funny, I mean bone-hurtingly bad, but also funny.
Yeah.
No, what's going to happen is the Knights are going to pick Ascent, and OpTic is going to roll the fuck out of them because they're going to start defense, and then they're going to play bind, and OpTic is just going to roll the fuck out of them. I'll tell you that. And I'm the actual fucking guy who's singing nice praises the entire fucking time throughout this entire season. So yeah, I don't believe in it, and unfortunately, that's how it's going to go.
Unlucky, Bren.
Don't believe in it, do you?
You didn't see it in the stars this
We'll
week.
see it. I mean, listen, we'll see. I think this is going to fail at step 1.
Did we have, by the way, Kurt, did we have like the stats from previous weeks in North America? Oh, were those stats just combined from EU and NA earlier? Ah, sorry, I misunderstood. That's interesting. I see. Okay, so there weren't that many EMEA games this week, so we decided to do a bit of a catch-up for some of the other regions. So if you're a fan of Korean Valorant, Krupium, Brazil, stick around because we're going to be going through some of those games. I wanted to start by talking about Vision Strikers. They've rebranded. They are now DRX, and they have been playing... I mean, both of the top Korean teams have rebranded. It was Vision Strikers against Esports Connected. Where'd you come up with that name? And now it's DRX against Onslayers. I've just called them King's new team here because I'm assuming most people are not tapped into Korean Valorant outside of Vision Strikers. And King, the former Sentinel from Vision Strikers, has formed this new team with Zunba, with some other big players from around the Korean scene like TS, Goddead, Bazi, who previously played with Crazy Raccoon. And this game, I mean, if we just pull up the stats to start with, Kurt, if you wouldn't mind, was much anticipated. There aren't that many big games happening in Korea. And there's basically 3 teams that matter. There's Vision Strikers, DRS, there's Onslayers, and then there's Damwon. And Damwon had previously been beating Onslayers. Onslayers came back recently and kind of smoked them. So it's clear that this new team with, Zumba and King is getting better and better. And then this game, they destroyed DRX. They actually smoked them. If you look at the stats, 13-3, map 1. And then Bind was a bit closer, 13-8. But at no point were they not in control. And if you look at the overall stats, Bazi, who used to play the Sova Breach kind of stuff for Crazy Raccoon, previous Overwatch League, like, really talented hitscan player, he fucking pooed.
Bro,
he has an average of 365
kills,
ACS. Yeah, he went 12-5 in first kills. I mean, he dominated RB. If you look at the Jett diff,
God.
It was just absurd.
You can look at the head-to-heads, right? If you go to performance at the top. Performance and then...
All kills. Yeah, it's up at the top. So it's
It's
Bazi,
it's on the
11-5
table
against Buzz, and then 7-6 against RB. I mean, it was nasty. But some of the things I wanted to highlight were the reasons why this was happening, because it wasn't just a good game from Bazi. And for my money, Vision Strikers actually looked better than they did before. I am kind of digging Vision Strikers, but this new team is prepped. I mean, they are looking good. Do you know who the coach is of this team? Anyway, look at this play. So they start with the breach and the Sova in garage. Look at this play. They start with the breach and Sova in garage. They drone off the rip, and he's holding the stun. Whoever gets tagged gets stunned and Sova ulted. They don't go for the Sova ult on the player this time. They go for the Sova ult at headshot box because they saw so many people, and they find that first pick. They did that set play in round 7. They did that set play in round 12 as well. Just a beautiful little tactic for them to find that first pick.
Yeah.
And now Vision Strikers, DRX, are in a situation where they... Sorry, this is Damwon when they were playing against Damwon. So this is on Slayers, on the defense, trying to pivot this one. Look, when they go towards King on A. So King's got a setup where he's jiggle peeking short and he has his alarm bot on long. So he's got the turret for info in B. He jiggles short, alarm bot watches long. As soon as King sees anything or hears anything on A, he's just going to Killjoy ult. He just puts his lockdown to stop the hit. As soon as this recon dart comes through, nah, you're not coming here, mate. Just lockdown instantly. And that just stops you from ever going towards A. It funnels all of the attackers towards B. And I've not seen anybody play like King. Right now, King is playing an utterly unique style of Killjoy, and it's working so well for this team. Yeah. He has different setups. He has different like ults like this. And it just, how do you deal with this? You're getting funneled into the exact site that Unslayers want you to go towards.
You know, I said earlier, EMEA is the thinking person's region for Valorant. I take it back. It's Korea.
It's Korea.
I take it back. Let's get wine. Let's get a wine up. Swirl it around.
In terms of tactics, like the actual like little tactical plays that Korea has, I would agree with you. I think they are at the top of the game for that. And who is coaching this team?
It's Jamin and Perry, both former New Term.
Oh, Perry. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Who's Jamin, Balla?
Jamin was former head coach for New Turn.
And Perry was the player for New Turn. So,
exactly.
Right.
Perry's a legend for forever. Yes. He played in 1.6 like CS a long time ago. So
they have really cool ideas. I thought that round was particularly interesting because it showcased like a set play at the beginning of the round, and then also a really unique setup to funnel some people in. But if you want to actually focus on the game itself, which was DRX playing against Onslayers, there was similarly interesting things happening in this game too. Just to kick things off, what did I have as the first clip here? This okay. Icebox, round 9, if you wouldn't mind this. So this is another play that just showcases the like set plays to find a pick is a big thing in Korean Valorant. They have like some set play on attack, and here the set play is we're going to wall up like normal. There'll be a player on the wall and a Soveralt at the same time. So the player up on the wall, a lot of regions do, but comboing it with a blind Soveralt in the position where you would normally stand to stop a player getting that pick. Really cool idea from Onslayers, but Buzz was a nutcase, manages to equalize the round a little bit in their favor. And Onslayers still win this round because Bazzi is nutty. I mean, just he was crazy this whole game, so this also just showcases his individuals.
Fuck up the counter wire? Yeah, Vision Strikers fuck up the counter wall, and it's like really awkward. And so Bazzi just gets free 2 kills on people who are barely moving.
And he's just swing, pop, swing, pop, swing, pop.
Nasty.
I love the Marshall.
Just bullying them the entire time. And they weren't always just doing tactical stuff too. Round 12 was a good example, I think, of like a strategic outplay where they just work the map better. And this is what I'm actually quite liking about the Korean scene right now. Especially with Onslayers, but also with Vision Strikers. They have this opening, right, where they're trying to take B green control. They get the recon on Buzz. Buzz gets the first kill. They have a res here that they can use to get Bazzi back up after God Dead takes the orb. So you've just essentially traded a res to take B green control. And this pulls rotates over towards B, but they've been playing a 3-1-1 default. They haven't just been stacking all 5 players B green. They're still defaulting. And so when they hear all those rotates come through, they just pivot into the A site. They find a really easy A site that only has Mako at it. And they can commit to A whilst also having Zumba lurk through mid. And it's nothing crazy happening here. It's just really good map rotations and well-timed like pincer here from Zumba making his way through. And
is this the one where they fuck up the wall again?
Yeah,
I mean, this is a different team, but they fucked up.
Yeah, they messed up the wall again there when they pushed through. But I think the macro pathing was good there, and a lot of the Korean teams, when they've been good before, have either had like one thing that they do really well. Like they're really good at fast hits. They're really good at tactics. They've got like something they're amazing at, or maybe they just have all the individual skill. I think Korea, the top 2 teams, and Damwon to some extent, are actually becoming much more well-rounded. They have the tactics. They also have the individual talent. And they're starting to look really elite at the defaulting, mid-rounding, and like adjusting to what their opponents are doing on the fly. I think it's a good time to be a Korean fan.
Yeah, that was always the thing that Korea as a region was missing. When you're watching like in the lead up to champs and you're watching the teams compete, the top teams at least, and like in APAC as well. So much emphasis being placed on like the trap plays, the set plays, like little things to give you the advantage in a round, but it's what you do after that was missing.
It was a bit. The other thing that was missing was just competition. It was Vision Strikers dominating everything, then Newturn dominating everything, then back to Vision Strikers dominating everything. They never really had two top teams. And I think right now, there should be two top teams. Even though on Slayers wins Icebox easily and Bind is a bit closer. They get the 2-0, right? But I think Vision Strikers, DRX, sorry, will be motivated to clap back at the end of this and find the motivation in the fact that they have a real rival. It's not like when Newturn was playing really well and Vision Strikers just collapsed and looked awful. I think DRX are actually still playing really well in some of these moments, and their individual talent is still through the roof, but they're getting outplayed, and I think that's going to motivate them to improve their own gameplay too.
I kind of had a different sense. I watched a couple career games. This game I was impressed with Onslayers, especially their A executes on Icebox as well. Just the amount of utility they're dumping. But some of the other games, Vision Strikers specifically, I was watching. I didn't get a chance to watch another Onslayers game, but I actually felt like gameplay wise and tactic wise, they were good. I agree with that, and that's always been good for Korea. But game plan wise, it feels definitely better in terms of like the overall strategy, defaulting and whatnot. But they're still falling down in those moments where they are going for a much less tactical approach to the round. Fundamentally, like their spacing ends up being bad. It feels a lot of times like they end up just DMing in those situations where the map is spread. And while they look great individually, that still is a downfall to me for their game. And
cool.
I don't know. I think it's great that Korea has two good teams. Again, I was really, really scared when Newturn was falling apart and F4Q was dying, like that it was just going to be Vision Strikers forever. But the challenge is very important to continue to have, because otherwise, who the fuck are they playing?
Yeah, they actually punished a lot of that individual playmaking from Buzz and RB in this match. I think that's one of the big reasons that Onslayers was able to win, was because Buzz would go for that like double kill and then swing again and die, and RB would try and force a duel and die. And those moments are the learning moments, I think, for DRX to take from this, because they need to be going more towards that like team play approach where you're scaling together. And I think that is a big thing that they can improve.
Because it's a merge of like F4Q and Newturn coaching and like just random also players from TNL, which is TS, I guess. And that kind of melds the play styles perfectly. And I will also say, just as on a high level, and still kind of carries through, I think even back on the champs episode, pre-champs episode, I was always more impressed with King than any player on Vision Strikers. This guy's decision making is unreal. And you saw it in that Haven clip. That was brilliant, and he continuously impresses me in moments like that. And to see him once again find success on another team just tells me, man, I don't know who's gelling on this team for Onslayers, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if it was King.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just
at all,
glad
actually.
that now that Wyatt's not here, we're still getting back to our regularly scheduled Korea Hopium refill. I think that's the important part, is that at least we're having some Hopiums trickle on through.
Yeah,
one slot for Masters, right?
I actually wanted. Yeah, they only have a single
only
slot
one
for
slot.
Masters, which is crazy. But at the moment, it's looking like Onslayers. I had a round that I wanted to show you to ask a question. Right, this is round one. It's their pistol round, but they were doing this a lot. The thing that I'm going to talk about was happening in all of their attack rounds. But Zunba uses pullback smokes a huge amount. So as they push up B long here, he puts his own star down, and they pull it back as they're scaling up, which I assume is to block like a counter flash that would be coming from Octagon or something. But they were doing it every time they pushed through B long, every time they pushed through showers. Zunba would put a star in front of them and retract it as they pushed through, almost like they were swoop peeking through their own Astra smoke. But it doesn't work like that. You can only swoop peek through Viper utility. So I was looking at this and I'm like, okay, when it's on B long, that makes a ton of sense, because if you're playing against an Octagon player that flashes, then you're going to be protected from that for a moment. The timing's going to be good. But they were also doing it all the time in showers. And there's definitely some clear forethought that Zunba thinks this is a really good way of getting use out of his utility, but I don't actually know what it's for.
Did they have info that the Sky was playing near showers when they did it in showers, or were they just popping in showers every time?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
it looks like they're just running up.
Yeah, it makes sense to me if they like, okay, we know the Sky's here, so maybe we do this. But if the Sky's not there, then like, what's even the point?
The long thing makes sense, because Sky's always playing long, and you have to play anti-flash while you're running up, and it's always really fucking awkward. But in terms of flash sense, but I think it's multifaceted, right? You have the recall happening, or you have a star right in front of where they would want to push, so it deters them from pushing just in case there's a grab wall or something like that. And then on top of that, you're recalling while you're running up, and that kind of baits people into thinking, hey, this is going to be a smoke. Maybe I can go for the orb. Maybe I can try to swing across the other angle. But when it comes back, there's 3 people there, and they're running up in your face.
Maybe it's
like there's
something like that too.
multi-facets. I think the flash thing is really, really smart, though, if that's the case.
They probably do it just in case they do end up flexing the sky over 2 showers to start taking control.
Yeah, possibly.
But it's what Balla was saying. Like if you're a player and you're fighting because there was a player who was running ahead of it. And if you're fighting that one,
they were trying to time it so that the pullback was while the player in the lead was inside of it.
That was like
that was their
you
goal.
saw that repeatedly.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that maybe it was
times.
intentional that one player got ahead, and as they thought, okay, let's take the fight against the player, the star gets recalled, and then suddenly there's 2 more players that were inside of that star, and you're taking a fight against 3 players.
Timing's always going to be a bit wonky with that.
I ranted on stream yesterday about this, but I'm so sad that, like, okay, I know Astra was overpowered, but it just feels like we were just reaching the precipice of fucking sick-ass Astra tech in terms of all the combos in NA finally reaching the masses, and then this recall tech is fucking everywhere. People are using recalls in ways that are so unique, creative, and you're seeing a new one every single week type of thing. Like this one I've never even heard of. I didn't see it when I watched this game. Oh, actually no, I didn't watch this game. But it's just so cool, and we're not going to see it anymore because Astra's going to start being played.
She'll be
less.
back at some point though. She'll be back and people will remember.
We're the only people who want to see Astra. We are the
Yeah,
only
me and
people.
Bren.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool actually just to see in Korean Valorant how little meta games develop. Like when they were playing on Ascend, there were certain meta killjoy setups that you never see in the other regions, or like certain recon darts. Like TS had a ton of different recons and shocks that I'd never seen before. You just don't see them in other regions. So that's part of why the international tournaments are so good. You get that blend, the big mixing pot of ideas, and people can pull ideas from each other and then go back to their own regions. But one of the big takeaways from this game is that Bazzi is for real. If you look at round 20, he opts on defense, and I don't understand how he gets the value from the operator in these positions. He's trading kills with the op with astounding consistency. And remember, he finished like plus 27 or something in this series. He comes in, his team's already got these 2 opening kills, and then RB responds, and he's in like a kind of forward position, just peeks, grabs a kill. Now he's in an area where he might get punished a little bit, and then he's just grabbing kill after kill, just finding these moments to be able to exploit DRX. Got 1 bullet left in the clip. Just done it.
What?
What is that?
Oh.
What is that?
That's a no-scope.
Oh no!
Oh.
What is that?
Oh no!
He was on scope.
I think he was, right? I think
Dude,
he scopes, sees him, unscope. I don't even know.
Can we 0.25 it? Can we get a detective case on it?
It's disgusting.
Can we slow that down? I'm pretty sure he just wasn't scoped the entire time.
Yeah.
No. He scoped and unscoped.
Oh no, sorry.
for sure.
I mean, I'm
in the
pretty sure he was
shot,
unscoped
yeah.
when he. when he taken the
0.25,
shot.
Kurt. We've got to take this deeper.
Oh, here we go. Here it is. It's coming.
And then
Wait a
that's this
second.
one.
0.25.
Fast.
Sound
Yeah,
on
yeah.
for the added extra chaos.
Here we come. Here we
Oh,
come. No.
Here we go.
Waiting.
That's a no-scope. That is actually a no-scope.
Yeah,
What is
that's
that?
actually a
Dude, it's
no-scope.
What is that?
Nah, that's a spec bug, bro. That shit didn't happen. Nah, hell nah. That shit did not happen.
It's filthy, man.
That's a
So
little
I think previously I thought of Bazzi as, obviously I know his Overwatch League career. He was an insane hit scan talent, insanely good. And then in Valorant, he was playing in a Japanese team, playing a supportive character. The team was wonky at best, but he looked like a good player. This, to me, was a breakout game that showed he has enough talent to actually diff people like Buzz and RB. It's mad how good he is. So, yeah, crazy. Crazy. Connor, I think you checked in with the Krupium, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Well, now we have to talk about the real region. Okay, LATAM. Now we got to talk about the real regions here. Okay, we're going to talk about LATAM South. We got to talk about LATAM South. So, most recently in our group stages, there's been really 2 teams that have kind of emerged, and it's Crew, obviously, and also the other one is Leviathan, essentially. It's like so the interesting part about
an
this, before,
empath. I think that means Leviathan in Portuguese.
You're on to something, but you stupid idiot. You haven't even gone to the juicy part yet, okay? You haven't even gone to the juicy part. The juicy part here is that this roster used to be the Astrals roster that was also the team that Crew beat the last time to get to like Masters of Champions.
Chile?
Do they speak Spanish in
yeah.
Chile?
I think so.
They do, of course they
Yes.
do. I'm an idiot, yeah.
Yes.
It's Brazil is
Correct.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I am an uncultured Philistine. I'm just a fucking pleb.
Well, okay. Well, I thought you were just
Bald,
making a
untraveled
joke.
idiot.
Dude, I
thought you were
didn't
just
mean to
making a
drag you,
joke.
but listen,
I was actually looking up recently what "let's go" is in Portuguese, but because it's vamos for crew, it's vamos lá. There you go,
Vamos lá?
vamos lá
What?
for the Brazilians.
Why?
you know?
And did I wonder? Did the podcast hear Kurt say, "Oh, come on," like in the background as he was saying that? I wonder if people heard that one.
It definitely did.
I don't know if they heard it, but I hope they did. So
What's
point
the
being, but that's-
analysis? What's the status
No, well,
report?
first of all, no, you haven't even got to the juiciest part yet.
Okay,
You keep running.
sorry. I'm rushing you.
So this roster used to be Astral's roster that Crew beat before previously in the previous grand finals to like go to champs, go to masters, all this stuff, and it's the same roster because the Astrals closed down their division. Well, guess who's coaching Leviathan?
Looks like a
Oh,
Owner.
Crew jersey to me.
No, it's literally just the rematch of the same teams with Crew's old coach, and they beat them again, which I find really funny. I just find that funny. So that's the backstory to this. Essentially, going through the segments, Kurt, you can just like kind of just scroll through the clips because the analysis is essentially just legitimately. I actually thought Leviathan might have been the slightly better team here, but Crew's experience and individual like skill just won them the series because it was a pretty close series. Crew still had like a lot of good things going for them. Like they'll get picks and they'll follow up really quickly, and teams can't deal with the pace. Like Kesnet and Nagzet are still like really, really strong fraggers, especially when Nagzet's on. So they rely pretty heavily on like they get picks, they rotate fast, they follow up on like that advantages that they get. They're pretty decent at working the map, but overall, I haven't really seen a lot of evolution of Crew. They look kind of the same realistically from when we last saw them. It doesn't seem like they've even like the meta. By the way, I didn't see any KO ever at any point. So like I didn't see like a lot of the new meta picks that we've been seeing in like in A and EU and such. So I'm worried that, you know, when we look at LATAM South and North and stuff like that, because I haven't checked into Brazil recently. I know someone else has, but like, was it you, Balla, that did the Brazil match? I don't know who did Brazil match
did.
here.
Yep.
Were they using KO? Because they were not doing this in here. Okay, so LATAM might be behind the meta here quite a bit.
It's a new meta anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
New
it is
meta
a new
next
meta
week.
anyway, so whatever. But like, even still, I'm sure KO is still going to fit into that meta in some way. So I don't know. Like, they just seem to be a little bit behind. They seem to be stuck in the past a bit, I think, and they haven't seemed to evolve at all. They look fundamentally solid, is what I'll say about Crew. But honestly, they don't even look nearly as good as they did when they looked at champs, in my opinion.
Well,
so that's my current analysis of
There
them
are two
across all
teams
the
that go
maps.
from LATAM to Reykjavik, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
on the spot.
presumably that would be, at the moment, it looks like Crew and Leviathan. So
Yeah.
that actually might be kind of interesting to see Leviathan.
It is pretty interesting because like the storylines for it, and Leviathan, I think they legitimately had like some very good fundamental reads here. If not more so than Crew. It's just Crew kind of just Kesnet and Nagzet sometimes just like dookied on them, and Delzik. Like they just had like really good moments. Like overall, like here in this retake, you can see the Crew spacing. It's pretty good. You know, they get it down. They have some aggressive peaks into heaven. Like they're just doing stuff that we've seen them do before here. Like nothing innovative per se. It's just good fundamentals, and also they're kind of playing against a team I think that lets them get away with a lot because of the picks they give up. But like they're working the map. They're setting up good post plants. It's kind of just the story of this match is that they just kind of got outplayed by individual players at times. Like, honestly, like we don't have to get hit on split too hard because I feel like it's just Kesnet and Nagzet like doing a lot. If we just go straight to bind, it's just like Klaus being a shower demon, and then Delzik had moments where he just ruined them on their eco. But at the end of the day, it's still baseline boils down to they got a lot of picks from Kesnet and Nagzet, and they just worked it from there. And they just had like good fundamental play. That's really the boy. And there was no real new meta shift or change in this team at all. Even minus their owner. It felt mostly the same.
I was wondering how much of a difference maker it would be making, like with owner.
They didn't look as good in polished
Yeah,
as they did in
with him
champs,
gone.
though.
Yeah.
It did not
Well,
look
I mean, one of
as
the big
good as
things for
Balla.
champs was that they were winning a lot of the pistol round and bonus round stuff that activated their comebacks against Sentinels, right? The second round pistol bonus got them straight back in the game in both of those maps. So it's that's a very kind of coach driven element that might end up being lacking a bit.
And Leviathan
Could
did
be.
have like good fundamental moments, which maybe owner, because they did replace their previous coach, because it's the same roster that looks, to my opinion, when you compare the when there was the Astrals roster playing crew previously to this year now with owner, they do look maybe more sound, like overall. Like it seems like they're a little bit more fundamental based than before. Like I said, I felt like they actually were a little bit better of a team. It's just individually they lost out.
You know,
So,
I've thought that before though, watching Astrals play against Crew. I've thought, oh damn, Astrals look better than Crew. And then I thought, oh my god, Astrals choked that game so fucking hard. And so I worry maybe about like them getting to a big tournament and just flopping completely, because I really do think that they've choked some of those big matches before to qualify to the big events or to get through to the... Yeah, I mean, normally it's the grand finals where they play against Crew. They just look so flat compared to their prior games. So I'm interested to see whether that rears its head again. Team's got talent.
but that's
what's
really
happening?
it. That's it for Crew.
Yeah, okay. Well, what's
you for the
happening
status
over
report.
in... Yeah, appreciate the status report.
Brazil.
What's happening over in Brazil, Balla? What's Loud up to? They have continued
Okay.
dominating, have they not?
Yes, yes. Let's start with the groups, just looking at the standings and stuff to give a little status report, because the only match that Professor Sideshow assigned to me for homework was actually Loud versus TBK, which was actually a week old. So no, I'm just kidding. So basically, the groups are almost defined. Loud is shitting on everybody in Group A. They have one more game, I think, against Vikings, who looks tragic. I think they've gotten... I mean, you can look at the round differential.
Minus 42?
Minus
Minus
42.
42?
It's been bad. Yeah. So that's gonna happen. There's one game here that matters, which is Liberty versus TBK. And if that wins, if Liberty wins, this could be a three-way tie. It's gonna be really weird. Only 3 teams per group. Go to the next group now. This is NIP, Keyed, Fury. This one's way more confusing because it's a three-way tie already. But In Gaming is playing against NIP, and if In Gaming wins, then the group gets confusing. If not, then all 3 teams at the top qualify. So yeah, Keyed still has, Heat, Musera, everybody from that team. Furia is just missing Zand. NIP is almost completely new. So let's get to Loud and the game against TBK, because in my opinion, this was really freaking good. And usually I don't get that opinion when I watch Brazil, but this was fucking nuts. So round 4, you could start with Kurt. This is a shark attack variation that Loud do against the team TBK. And this is go back. It's so laggy. The big theme with Loud was the fact that they're consistently getting so much value out of ult combinations. And this one right here is Saucy coming on short. They dash in with the recon bolt, and he's ulting while Aspas is smoking the corner so he could work around with the recon bolt and get into some funky angles. And they're pushing B-Med at the same time. And this is just classic shark attack stuff. But
I haven't seen anyone combo that with
nice.
this overall before. I don't know why, but I've just never seen someone do that.
And every single time they have multiple ults up, especially early on in the game, they're stacking them in really, really cool ways like that. Then the next one is more of a game plan, like a overall strategy thing. Strategy. Holy fuck. Strategy. It's a new hit board game. This is them playing against an anti-eco, but they read the fake so well. And I think this is something that the Vikings was really good at champs, but overall in the entire year, Brazil and Vikings especially was not good at. They were over-rotating really fast and just not reading the plays very well. So TBK goes for, and TBK was not bad by any means. Their Jett player is freaking insane. They go for this fake with the mid split. It's KO and Jett faking, and nobody rotates. Maybe a little bit, but Sadak plays so good in response to this, right? They see, okay, it's going to be a fake, and Sadak's just holding a flash, and he just clears tree late in the round after they realize that it's a fake, and there's 2 players here to just receive. It's really, really nice, and something that I think was lacking in previous iterations of the top Brazil teams. They look insane, like really good guys.
Also cool to
And
see
with a lot of
Sadak on a
talent.
different role too. He's been able to have so much more impact playing like duelist or KO or something like that compared to being on the compared to just being on Sentinel the entire time. I wonder how that would have affected his calling too, because he's still IGLing for this roster.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
I
I'm not
mean, I
sure,
think so. I'm assuming so. Yeah, they kind of dismantled this TBK side.
Yeah, and their bind looked really good as well. I mean, they did very
Oh
good. I mean,
my
they 13 of them.
God.
Yeah. In this match specifically, Aspas is nasty. Like his raise movement, there was multiple moments in this game, similar, slightly lower level than the Nuki thing against Zeke. Like many moments like that though, where he's just like fucking changing momentum midair type of thing, and then landing and getting a phantom spray now. Like it's nuts. Oh, this round's a perfect example of it. Although there's no real resistance, he just satchels in and spray transfers a few people. Yeah, this kid is nuts. I don't know where he came from, but he's nuts.
He was
Oh my God. The guy's playing Quake.
yeah, I can't
And look
remember.
on top of all this, there's a smoke, there's a molly in there, there's a follow-up molly. They have elbow controlled perfectly well. I mean, it's the executes were fantastic out of this team.
Aspas has been talked about for a long time in the Brazilian scene. I'm really not sure why he hadn't been picked up already. I don't know whether it was like some politics thing or what, but
Or
he's
age,
been
maybe
what? Sorry,
age, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I don't think it was an age thing, but perhaps. I just know that there's been a lot of talk about him being the next best duelist in the region, but he hadn't actually joined a big team. He was just like dominating ranked, and everyone was talking about him. And then he finally gets added to this squad, and he's been popping off.
So we're waiting until the playoffs for when the groups collide, right?
Well, honestly,
are they not being tested in their group right now in terms of it's just a difference of skill?
okay, I haven't been
No,
following the
they're not going
Brazilian
to.
region enough to tell you exactly who the second best team is, but I thought coming into these groups that their games against Liberty and TBK would be good games, like close games. And the game against Liberty actually was a good game, but TBK, they manhandled them, absolutely mullered them. So I'm not sure, honestly, as to whether or not Loud, you know, are they going to get better games when they're matched up against an NIP or a Furia? Maybe, but also they might just shit on them as well. I think that's absolutely a possibility, that this team just has too much talent right now. And not just relying on talent, but they have talent that they're setting up well. This is the super team that Wyatt wanted, and Wyatt's not even here to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So sad.
So sad.
It's so sad.
So sad. Wyatt calls for Brazilian super team and then doesn't even appreciate it. Curious.
Maybe why it's the secret super team coach.
Who is their coach?
I don't fucking know.
Wyatt.
No, I mean, do they have one? Do they? Buzka.
He just doesn't know.
Buzka backwards is actually Wyatt. Yep.
For a minute there, because the
Mateus
message below, I thought it said Borka.
Tarasconi?
Wait, what was Wyatt's TF2 name? Wasn't it fucking?
Yeah, it was Buzka.
It was Buzka.
It was Buzka. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely.
Dude,
that was definitely
holy.
Buzka.
Yeah, IR Sniper changed his name to Buzka.
It's all coming back together.
Yeah, there you go.
It all loops around.
I'm excited to see if there's any kind of like South American tournament. If they could do like a show match before Reykjavik or something, and it had like Crew playing against Loud, you know, like that would get the juices flowing. But just in general, holy shit, Reykjavik's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You've got this team. You've got the whichever Korean team ends up coming. I wish Korea had 2 slots, but still, whichever Korea team comes out, you've got Loud. You've got Crew coming back to see if they can make a semis performance. Holy shit! Yeah, SEA as well. I mean, I haven't really been following SEA, but
I mean, the storylines could develop into something nasty, honestly, as well.
Yeah.
If we see, like, if version 1 keep up their performance and end up qualifying, a return to Reykjavik for version 1, like, I don't know.
Play against Team Liquid again, get revenge.
Dude, honestly, it could be nasty. Honestly, Masters 1, it could be shaping up to be something special.
Okay, well, this leads us to our most important segment of the week, every week. It's Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Dude, it's so dark in here. I can't see anything. What is that glowing? Oh. That's why it's weekly award.
It's it's been a long time since we've used this one.
Is he in that lamp? Is that
Many
where he is?
variations.
Is that
Yeah,
where
this is where
Ty
he's gone. I've actually trapped him like a genie in a bottle. So I'm not going to polish this ever, otherwise he'll pop back
ancient
out.
artifact. We're saving Wyatt for a rainy day when Valorant needs him most. We'll rub the weekly award and it'll pop out.
But see, you have to be careful because we could lose him, and then like 1,000 years later in the future, he shows up again, like Samurai Jack or something.
Yeah,
So, he's just
I
gonna
don't
be
know whether
trapped.
Wyatt would survive 1,000 years from now. I don't know whether any of us would. If you went 1,000
Well,
years
the
in
thing
the
is,
past,
he's trapped in a bottle. He's like it's not his physical form; it's his spirit
his-
form.
oh, it's a spirit form. I see.
Well,
So
How
it could
else, are you
inhabit
saying
a
you have
cyborg
Honey, I
body.
Shrunk the Kids him? Have you shrunk him down to keep him there? Like what? I don't like. I assume that you would kept whatever. Whatever.
Okay, my Wyatt Weekly Award. That doesn't make any sense.
Your
but
Wyatt Weekly Award. I mean,
Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Wyatt is a concept now. It's a
Yes,
it's a theme. It's an
It is.
it's an idea.
We are all Wyatt in this moment.
ideas are bulletproof. Yeah, I'm gonna give it this week to Bazi.
MCU.
Are you now?
Oh, Bozzy. Okay.
Why are you
Because-
challenging me like that?
Because I'm gonna give it to Balla
Balla.
for talking about Brazil. Wyatt would have wanted it to go to Balla
That's true, actually.
because he's talking about Brazil.
wow, you know what?
Arcing him up.
But Wyatt also would have wanted people to talk about Korea.
No, I don't think he would.
Oh, you don't think so? Not as much
I think
as
it's
Brazil?
Brazil. You know what?
Okay.
I think Balla. Which Brazilian player deserves this? It's got to be somebody from Loud. Actually, I'm getting affected by my
I have
Korean
one.
biases.
I have one.
Uh-huh.
Pancada. This guy is the nastiest little Astra player, most disciplined dude I've seen in Brazil for sure. Couple rounds, nasty. Nice. 5 followers. Yo, gas this up.
That's got to be the wrong
Black
link.
gas it off.
Gas it up. This is the most underrated
gotta be the
player.
wrong
This is the
link.
player you've never heard of.
He's got 5 followers on Twitter.
This got to be the wrong
Very
link.
underground.
Dude, this is so underground. Holy. Wow.
He doesn't even have a profile picture.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Pancada every time I watched this team play, and even more impressed because he wasn't one of the big names I was expecting to get blown away by. It's him and Les that are the least star names on the roster, but Pancada, well, that's what they called the team, right? It was like Pancada and Friends or something at the beginning.
Yeah, amigos, yeah.
Yeah. All right, this one, Wyatt's Weekly Award goes to Loud
Don't rub it too much.
Pancada. Oh, yeah, sorry, I won't.
We can't release him too early.
No, he will grant you 3 wishes, but they all have to be Brazil wins Reykjavik. That does it for us this week then. That was episode 82, I think. Next week, EMEA should be back with big games. I think they're doing like multiple streams or something to be able
2
to run
streams,
through
a
all
lot
of the
of
games at
games.
the same time. We might bring in an EMEA expert to break down some of those and give us some time to watch other things that are happening. And we'll have some more crazy stuff from the next meta as it happens in North America. So should be pretty good. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch episode 83. We'll see you next week. Bye.